Pokemon, Cynthia's fiance at the beginning. Author, Legend Love Powder. 226 Cynthia, who doesn't eat sweets, fantasizes about three girls standing at the top. Hoenn region. The largest hotel in Mossdeep City, the Mossdeep Hotel. Mulin, Cynthia, and Sabrina are dining at the hotel. Solved the primal double gods, and took 2 more orbs into the bag. In the entire Hoenn region, there is no longer any trouble. To thank Mulin for solving Groudon, Kyogre's fight twice. There is also the crisis of Meteorite's extinction. Steven specially booked the entire Mossdeep Hotel to entertain Mulin and others, and proudly expressed that Mulin spent everything that happened in the Hoenn region. He, Mr. Zafuki Steven, will pay the bill. The charitable son is so warmly entertained, and he is not in a hurry to return to Sinnoh region. As for Cynthia, it also means that Sinnoh region will be destroyed along with Team Galactic. Nothing to do. In more than a month, it will be the championship ranking match. And she who has harvested Zapdos and Zekrom is fine. So I stayed with Mulin in Chongyuan region from now on. Mulin plans to take a good tour while clearing the rage factor of imprison in 030's body. Mulin, I'm leaving. Sabrina, who was eating, said abruptly. Okay? Does the Unova Alliance need you to deal with something? Hearing that Sabrina was leaving, Cynthia put down the dessert in her hand and asked curiously. After all, Sabrina is the newly promoted region champion, and it is normal for her to deal with Alliance official documents sometimes. No, Sabrina silently shook her head. Why is that? Did Mulin bully you? Cynthia gave Mulin a squinting look, and said domineeringly, if he bullies you, I will help you punish him. As time goes by, Cynthia begins to fall in love with Sabrina, who looks cold but is actually hot inside. Especially Sabrina's personality. If you like it, you like it, and if you hate it, you hate it. A character with clear love and hate, although sometimes it is not so appropriate. But at least, the dog can easily read her heart. It's also easy to get along with. Murin. Can this be blamed on yourself? Innocent face. Sabrina quickly waved her hand. It's none of Mulin's business. I left this time because I wanted to conquer Pokemon. Take Pokemon? Cynthia looked at Sabrina suspiciously. There is still more than a month until the championship qualifying match. Are you going to conquer Pokemon now? Okay. Sabrina glanced at Mulin secretly, and said quietly, I want to subdue a more powerful Pokemon, and at the same time, I want to achieve good results in the championship ranking competition. And I also want to be like you, to be able to help Mulin at critical moments, instead of just doing irrelevant things with Wallace and the others. Sensible. Hearing Sabrina's thoughts, Cynthia gave her a generous compliment. Quite the demeanor of the great mistress, she said. At that time, our 3 sisters will take the top 3 places in the championship ranking exhibition. Show the world the power of women. The 3 sisters in Cynthia's mouth are her, Sabrina and Kaluni. The well-structured speech caused slight ripples in Sabrina's heart. Follow Mulin, Cynthia's days in Celestic Town. Even if Sabrina doesn't understand the world, she still knows that Kaluni is also a heart city. Kgaj Mulin. After observing, Sabrina knew that Cynthia's position in Mulin's heart was unshakable. After all, it was a childhood sweetheart who grew up, and it was also her first love. There is no doubt that Cynthia is the matron. What about the number 2 guy? Is it her, or Kaluni? Do not know. But what if she got a slightly higher ranking in the championship ranking tournament? Will it come in second? Do not know. But at least, it's a plus. Thinking of this, Sabrina couldn't wait. I'll leave later. Go. Conquer the more powerful Pokemon and bring us 3 sisters. Brilliant in the championship ranking competition. Cynthia waved her hand proudly. Sabrina nodded emphatically. By the way, Sabrina, what Pokemon do you want to subdue? Mulin, who had been silent all this time, interrupted and asked. Sabrina is different from Cynthia. She is a trainer majoring in superpowers. Quite curious what Pokemon she plans to tame. Sabrina obviously thought about this question a long time ago, and replied, I plan to go to the Whirlpool Island, and take down a Zapdos like Dorona. If Pokemon of the electric type joins, it can restrain Wallace and Dodo in the championship ranking match. Sabrina's plan surprised Mulin. I also feel a little sorry for Wallace and Dodo, who are always being targeted. But it can also be seen that Sabrina, who has always majored in super energy, is very concerned about the ranking in the championship ranking competition. Mulin didn't say much about this, but just said lightly, well, be careful. I will. Sabrina nodded seriously to Mulin, and then said to Cynthia, Cynthia, then I'm leaving. Go. Cynthia waved her hands excitedly. Afterwards, Sabrina left the Mossdeep City Hotel and went to the Whirlpool Islands. If you don't eat it, your ice cream will melt. Mulin handed the vanilla ice cream that Cynthia put down just now to her. Cynthia, who was fantasizing about 3 women standing in the top 3 of the championship ranking, frowned at the vanilla ice cream. Don't eat. A bit greasy. After finishing speaking, he calculated the history of each region champion. Calculate the chances of their 3 daughters winning the top 3 respectively. 227 Lucario with emotions. After dinner with Cynthia, the 2 came to the training ground of the Mossdeep City Hotel. Because there are Pokemon in this world, Normal went to a hotel with a small scale. There will be several training grounds for trainer training in the surrounding area. A 5-star hotel like Moss Deep Hotel Tilda. In addition to having all kinds of training grounds, there's also a grooming department for Pokemon, massages just for Pokemon, a spa pool, a rest area just for Pokemon, and more. Anyway, everything is available. As soon as Mulin and Cynthia arrived at the training ground, they heard the whistling wind. A blue and black figure is rapidly shuttling through the training ground. Boom tilde. One is produced by the German company, which is specially made of super lotus stone. The training target, which could withstand 10,000 catties of force, was directly smashed to pieces. The blue-black figure is exactly Mulin's Lucario. Lucario, who smashed the training target with one punch, did not stop at all, and continued to launch a thunderous attack towards another training target. Boom tilde. The entire training ground, there was a constant roar. Darkrai, Little Lugia, and Giant Dragonite gathered aside, silently observing Lucario in training. Seeing Mulin and Cynthia coming, Little Lugia flapped her wings and flew to Sleepy's side. Darkrai and the Giant Dragonite also came to Mulin's side. Mulin's eyes swept over Lucario's body, and he keenly found that his Earl Dervish Pokemon was not very stable now. Asked Darkrai, "What's wrong with Xiu?" Hiss tilde. Darkrai reported what he knew to Mulin through teleportation. Through Darkrai's narration, Mulin asked suspiciously, "You mean, Xiu has been training? Didn't stop?" Hiss tilde. Darkrai, Little Lugia, and Giant Dragonite all nodded in approval. Mulin, "What's wrong with you?" Cynthia asked from the side. Lucario's abnormality made Cynthia feel something was wrong. As for what Lucario is thinking, Yinrin can probably guess a thing or two. To Cynthia, "It's not a big deal. I'm here to communicate with Xiu." "Yes," Cynthia obediently agreed. Even though she is also very familiar with Lucario, it is his trainer Mulin who understands Lucario's mind better. Cynthia greeted the rest of Mulin's Pokemon sweetly. "Silver, Darkrai, Big Man, you guys come with me." Pull away a few Pokemon to make room for Mulin and Lucario. Mulin walked to the training ground, sat aside and watched Lucario in training silently. He didn't make a sound or interrupt him, just looked at him quietly, without urging. Time passed slowly, and Mulin stayed quietly on the sidelines. 2 hours have passed. Boom tilde. After a long time of beating, the training targets in the entire training ground have been dilapidated. Ground 2 was left with countless footprints by Lucario, and it was broken into pieces. Finally, Lucario's physical strength and energy, which has been training, have reached the upper limit. Hoo tilde. Or Airberg's poured body, undulating constantly. He sucked in a big mouthful of air. At this moment, Mulin waved to Lucario. "Xiao, come and sit beside me." Yen. Lucario agreed, and silently walked to Mulin's side and sat down. There was no one around, only Mulin and herself. Lucario lowered his head to look at his fist, with a somewhat annoyed expression. Mulin put his hands on Lucario's body, using the 3 divine powers to help him restore his lost physical strength and energy zone. While helping Lucario recover, Mulin connected with Lucario and communicated in his mind. Although there is no one around, some words are not suitable to say. "Xiao, I know what you're thinking. Darkrai, they broke through because of the last battle. But you missed the match, so you trained desperately to catch up with them. Is it?" Lucario knew what was on his mind, but he couldn't hide it from Mulin. Nodding silently, Mulin guessed right. Lucario has some training from Lan. That's because Lucario has fallen behind on the scale. Even Little Lugia, the weakest in the team, has reached the middle level 3 gods. Only Lucario, the lower 3rd level god, of course has an idea. In Mulin's Pokemon team, Lucario has always been the big brother who takes care of everyone. Although the strength of the brothers has improved, it is very heavy. But Lucario also has chagrin. Annoyed that the strength is not as good as the brothers, Mulin patted Lucario's shoulder and comforted him. "Xiao, don't worry, you will improve." Lucario raised his head to look at Mulin. His eyes were full of the stronger covet. At this time, a man dressed as a nobleman came to the training ground of the hotel. 228 Stephen, Aggron, was seconded! The aristocrat walking towards Mulin is none other than Stephen, who is known as Hoen's barrier. Mulin patted Lucario's shoulder. "Xiao, do you want to fight Trival, who is also a steel type?" Lucario clenched his fists. "If you want to break through, you must fight against a stronger rival. Look for breakthrough opportunities in the battle." "Mulin, you." Before Stephen finished greeting Mulin spoke first. "Stephen, let's have a battle." Lucario beside him, Growl, who sent out a fighting spirit towards Stephen. In this regard, Yinj was stunned for a moment, looking at Mulin with some surprise, and Lucario, who exudes fighting spirit. Stephen likes to collect stones, but he is also a battle enthusiast. Otherwise, 803 would not be able to grow into the Hoenn barrier. For high-level rival matches, this is exactly what one could wish for. Facing Mulin's invitation to fight, Yinwu quickly responded, okay. In the battlefield of the Moss Deep Hotel, Mulin and Steven stood on one side. Cynthia led the Pokémon and watched their battle silently off the field. The reason why Mulin challenged Steven was simple. Steven is a trainer specializing in Steel-type Pokémon, and he has a deep understanding of Steel-type Pokémon, and Lucario is a Pokémon of Steel plus fighting. Maybe collide with Steven's Steel Pokémon to make a good Ember. Lucario is now only one step away from the median third-level god. As long as you pass this hurdle, you will be able to break through smoothly. This is the time when high-quality battles are needed. Steven is the best opponent. Mulin, please give me your advice. Steven took out a baby ball with fighting spirit, and said to Sleepy, please. Mulin replied lightly. His Lucario was already standing in the battlefield. The meaning is also very clear, that is to use him to fight. Because it is not too formal a match, no referee is needed. After getting ready, Steven threw a baby ball towards soaring in the sky filling, come out, my partner. Pokémon, Aggron, gender, male. Attribute, steel, rock. Ability, hard head. If you use a move that will receive reaction force, your physical strength will not decrease. Level, 68, champion peak. Potential, champion peak. Skills, iron head, metal claw, iron defense, iron tail, autotomize, heavy impact, takedown, metal sound. Genetic skills, dragon rush, double head hammer, trample, superpower. Contest condition, good. Remarks, this Pokémon has outstanding qualifications and is the best of its kind, known for its superb defense. Aggron saw Lucario, who restrained his breath, and kept rubbing his feet against the ground. He lowered his head slightly, as if preparing to attack. Have to say, Aggron's huge size, and the armor glowing white, like an Audiobook tank. Some weak Pokémon just see this size, and they can't raise the heart of confrontation at all. Mulin looked at Aggron, who was about to move around in the field. His calm eyes did not fluctuate. Starting Aggron. It's very Steven. Mulin once accompanied Cynthia and watched the video of the last championship ranking match. Steven was the Hoenn region champion at the time. No matter who the rival is playing against, start is Aggron. Aggron's unparalleled defensive ability is indeed very suitable for testing the opponent's tactics. High defense, but also has a good fault tolerance rate. But no matter how high the defense is, in front of his Lucario, it is as fragile as a piece of paper. The combination of steel plus rock is 4 times weaker than fighting. But obviously Steven dared to start Aggron, who suffered from losses on attribute, and he also had his plans. As soon as the battle started, he commanded loudly, Aggron, use Earthquake. Aggron trampled on the ground hard, although he didn't have the bonus of the ground system. But relying on its huge body size, it has also reached a level of height that is difficult for the same race to match. It is easy to crack the battlefield, and there is a huge amount of energy in the cracks, attacking Lucario. The Earthquake of the ground system is a large-scale skill, and it can deal outstanding damage to Lucario. Is Aggron's main area of effect damage ability. For the incoming attack, Mulin just responded softly, Xiao, use a bone strike. Lucario let out a low growl, and 2 bone clubs condensed with the power of Waveguide appeared in his hand. Then it hit the ground heavily. Boom. The powerful force of Waveguide impacted the ground, immediately shattering the land in front of him. Centered on Lucario, an exaggerated deep pit is formed. With a strong momentum, he broke through the attack created by Aggron. What? Steven's eyes became more and more solemn, although he had known the strength of Mulin's Pokémon for a long time. But he never expected that Lucario could disperse Aggron's attack so easily. Just when Steven wanted to continue to move, suddenly, I found that the figure of Lucario in front of me became unreal. This is an after-image? The next moment, Lucario rushed in front of Aggron. It kept attacking Aggron crazily with its hard fists and powerful feet. Lian 2.6's continuous attacks hit Aggron's body, making a clanging sound and bursting into flames. Aggron, use Protect. Steven shouted loudly, trying to make Aggron defend. It's a pity that Steven hasn't spoken yet. His Aggron has already been violently attacked and defeated by heavy blows. Boom. Aggron's huge body fell to the side. Eyes rolled in circles. Can't fight. Steven looked at Aggron, who fell to the ground dumbfounded. His eyes were full of surprise. My Aggron was seconded? 229 Steven got caught. The next step to the peak of the champion is the lower third-level god. Just a gap of 1 level is not enough to create a natural moat. The gap can be smoothed out through restraint on attribute. However, Steven's Aggron was restrained 4 times by Lucario's fighting. This also led to Steven's defeat in the first battle. Steven pulled out the baby ball and recovered the defeated Aggron. Facing the introverted and immobile Lucario, Steven really felt an unprecedented sense of oppression. Reminds him of playing against the world's #1 dandy. Dandy's trump card Dynamite's Charizard against his Steel-type Pokémon. It is also restrained on the attribute, and Dandy's Charizard can also beat his Steel Pokémon by virtue of the advantage on the attribute. But even so, he didn't face half the pressure of Mulin. Because of Mulin's Lucario, There is no Mega Evolution yet. Thinking of this, Steven suppressed all kinds of negative emotions in 26's heart because Aggron was killed in seconds. Pulled out another baby ball and headed towards soaring in the sky fling. After a burst of red light, released his trump card. Metagross, Mega Evolution. At the beginning of the battle, Steven pressed the Mega Ring in his hand. Relevant data appeared in Mulin's eyes. Pokemon, Metagross, Mega Evolution form. Gender, male. Attribute, Steel. Super Energy? Ability, Hard Claw. The power of rival's move will increase when it comes into contact with it. Level, 69. Champion Peak. Potential, lower level 3 God. Skills, Arm Hammer, Metal Claw, Bullet Punch, Zen Headbutt, Electromagnetic Levitation, Flash Cannon, Psychic, Meteor Mash, Destruction Flying Line. Contest Condition, Good. Remarks, because of Mega Evolution, the brain is stimulated, and it becomes a ruthless character who will do whatever it takes to win. Potential is a lower level 3rd level God. As expected of the Prince of the Devon Company, he should have fed Metagross secret treasures a lot. But it's a pity that I failed to break through the most critical step. Mulin thought in his heart. Although Steven's Metagross, the potential has reached the lower level 3 gods. But it is not so simple to break through this step and complete a qualitative leap. It takes an opportunity, to break through the shackles of race. Mulin cast his eyes on his own Lucario, and Lucario's eyes lit up a flame of excitement for the rival in front of him. Seeing this, Mulin commanded, "Xiao, let's go." Lucario hit the bulldoze ground hard with both feet, launching an impact like a shooting star. Having seen Lucario's powerful close combat fighting ability, Steven quickly let Mega Metagross attack. Metagross, Psychic, Great Gold tilde. Mega Metagross let out a low growl, and the 4 claws respectively condensed 4 spiritual light balls. Like a computer, Normal's exquisite brain calculates the direction of Lucario's progress. Fling the 4 mental light spheres towards the calculated positions. Steel plus Fighting, the combination of the 2 attributes, Lucario, has offset the weakness of the fighting system being restrained by the super energy system. But even so, Mulin will not let Lucario fight hard. "Xiu, use quick attack to dodge!" Lucario yelled, and Oeberg's cast body shone with electric arcs. The impact force brought by the arc further increased Lucario's speed. The speed of quick attack is not as good as that of extreme speed, which has a better speed-up effect, but it gave Lucario the ability to dodge and maneuver during high-speed impact. Boom tilde. 4 psychic light spheres exploded behind Lucario, and in an instant, it has rushed to the front of Mega Metagross. The difference between the two is only 10 meters. Seeing this, Steven quickly commanded, "Metagross, when the opponent comes over, use the Arm Hammer." After Metagross entered the Mega Evolution form, ability also changed from the original constant body to a hard claw. This gave Metagross, who was already good at physical attacks, a further bonus. Even if it is Mulin's Lucario, Steven is confident that with the physical attack ability of Mega Metagross, he can touch it. Oh 9-0. But when Mega Metagross gathers its strength and prepares to head on with the opponent, Lucario, who seemed to have turned into a shooting star, stopped the car abruptly. At this time, Mulin's voice came. "Xiu, or a sphere." I saw Lucario, who was less than 10 meters away, condense 2 gray-black energy bombs with his hands, heading towards the Mega Metagross fling. Metagross, swim defense. Seeing this, Steven subconsciously let Mega Metagross defend. But the next second, Steven was stunned. Because before that, Mega Metagross was ready to use the Arm Hammer to fight the opponent in close quarters. In a hurry, it is impossible to undo the original action. I've been tricked. At this time, Steven finally understood that he had preconceived ideas because of Mulin's command. He could only watch helplessly as the Aura Sphere bombarded Mega Metagross. 230 Steven, can't even force Mega Evolution! Boom, boom. 2 rounds of Aura Sphere bombarded Mega Metagross body, triggering smoke. The Metagross of the Steel System plus Super Energy System also offsets the weakness of the Steel System's weak fighting. While it doesn't deal fatal damage, Mega Metagross is also pretty tough. Looking around because of the rising smoke, Steven, as a high-level trainer, knows that there is a hidden crisis at this time. Quickly ordered, "Metagross, be careful of the opponent's sneak attack at this time." Great Gold tilde. Metagross uses Psychic to vibrate the air, alerting the surroundings at all times. Steven is doing well. Adjust the contest condition so quickly. Mulin, who possesses 3 divine powers in his body, clearly sensed Metagross, who was on the defensive, cut off the possibility of him wanting to pursue. In fact, sometimes it will be a bit boring to play against a master. For example, Steven, who specializes in steel, knows exactly what attacks and skills Lucario of Steel is good at. When you know the basics, if you want to surprise, the probability of success will be even lower. After all, he is also a champion after all. Since the opponent is on the defensive, it's better to attack. This is also the way Lucario is best at attacking. Mulin said, "Xiu, Blaze Kick." Lucario let out a low cry, stomped on the ground and launched an impact towards Metagross not far away. Sensing Lucario's approach, Steven quickly said, "Metagross, use iron defense to defend." Great gold tilde. Metagross' four sharp claws gathered together to form a shield covering its body. Boom tilde. A burst of metal clashes aroused the dazzling ember. The hot breath from Lucario's legs was transmitted to Metagross' claw shield. Seeing the distance between the two Pokémon getting closer, Steven said loudly, "Metagross, use the arm hammer tilde." Great gold tilde. With a loud shout, Metagross stopped his retreating momentum by relying on his weight of half a ton. Vigorously waving its four sharp claws, it hit Lucario hard. "Want to be tough?" Mulin raised his eyebrows and instantly understood Steven's thoughts. Xiu, meet rival. Aura sphere connected to rock smash. Lucario's hands transformed into aura sphere respectively. Then he grasped it in his hands, and stamped his fists forcefully towards the two paws of Mega Metagross. Boom tilde. The powerful impact created by the two Pokémon made both sides take a few steps back. Four-clawed Mega Metagross, leaving white scratches on Lucario or Bbook's cast body. The Mega Metagross is also very uncomfortable. The two paws resisted the Aura Sphere plus Rock Smash respectively, and they looked soft. Both sides exchanged skills, leaving scars on rival's body. At this time, Mulin's Lucario finally became serious about rival's tenacity. Interesting. Steven's Metagross is pretty good. Mulin's eyes became as serious as Lucario's. But at this time, Steven felt the pressure was getting heavier. Too strong. Even though Mega Metagross is better defensively, it's barely a tie. It won't be the end. Even Lucario's Mega Evolution form can't be forced out. Just when Steven's heart was heavy, Mulin directed again, Xiu Extreme Speed. Connected to close combat. Extreme Speed plus Close Combat is Lucario's trump card combo. In normal battles, this trick is rarely used. Using this combo means that Mulin recognized the strength of Mega Metagross. Lucario's one-step bulldoze ground breaks the ground on the battlefield. Burst out a powerful impact to send the strongest impact towards Mega Metagross. Lucario arrived at a high speed, and Steven knew that Mega Metagross had no possibility of dodging. Instead, he chose to defend and was approached by the flexible Lucario. What awaits him is a continuous offensive. In desperation, Yinzu could only choose to be tough. Metagross, arm hammer. Great gold tilde. Mega Metagross knew that victory or defeat was all in one fell swoop, so he raised his somewhat soft paws with all his strength, gathering all his strength. He greeted the forward Lucario. Boom tilde. The head-to-head confrontation between Bbook and Bbook caused countless embers to splatter. It caused bursts of gunpowder to fill the air. Under this Bbook collision, the Metagross, which was continuously impacted and its level was suppressed, consumed all its energy. Immediately, he fell to the ground. There was a burst of smoke and dust. There was a burst of loud shouts from Lucario in the smoke, announcing his victory in this round. Metagross. Steven took back the fallen Metagross silently, and then focused his attention on the vigorous Lucario in the battlefield. Before I played against Mulin, I never thought that I would win, because he has seen the strength of Mulin Pokémon. But what Steven didn't expect was that even he worked so hard. Also lost 2 rounds in a row. Gradually, Steven came up with an idea. It won't be the end. Even Lucario's Mega Evolution form can't be forced out. Pseudo 231 Steven, I shouldn't be, I've been crossed 6 by 1. After losing 2 consecutive rounds, Steven sent out a third Pokémon. Skarmory? Pokémon. Skarmory. Gender, male. Attribute, steel. Flying? Ability, sharp eyes. During battle, the hit rate of Pokémon with this ability will not be reduced by interference from rival. Level 67, Champion Peak. Potential, Champion Peak. Skills, Metal Claw, Wing Attack, Steel Wing, Slash, Autotomize, Drill Peck, Iron Defense. Brave Bird. Genetic skills, Air Slash, Night Slash. Contest condition, good. Remarks. They will build nests in thorn bushes. The wings of the chicks who grow up with the stabbing will become extremely hard, and they will cut rival with the sharp wings of a knife. Lucario just had a fierce battle with Mega Metagross, and his fighting spirit was ignited. After seeing that rival is Skarmory, I can't help but lose some interest. No one else, because this Skarmory is not as powerful as Steven 493's Mega Metagross, including Mulin is the same, although Skarmory can fly. Have a superiority. And in the same line, Skarmory, like other steel-type Pokémon, has a relatively good defense ability. And wearing armor, he has unbelievable attack and speed. But Skarmory has a fatal flaw. That is his special attack species strength, only a poor 40 points. Although Skarmory is able to learn several long-range consumption skills, like Air Slash. However, Laka's special attack ability is destined to prevent him from causing too much damage. And if you want to do damage, you must rely on melee combat. In this way, The advantage in height is gone. Steven should also be very clear that Skarmory has no advantage against Xiu, but the reason why he did this is probably to let Skarmory use Sword Dance, raise Skarmory's attack to the limit, cooperate with this CGFC ability of Skarmory's sharp eyes, and use the powerful skill Brave Bird to decide the victory. As Mulin expected, at the beginning of the third round of the battle, Steven was the first to shout, "Skarmory, fly to the sky and distance yourself." Skarmory flapped his wings quickly, flying into the air continuously. Normal in a regular game, the rules of the battle will be clearly stipulated. Pokémon that can fly must not fly above a certain height. For example, an Onix versus a Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto flew hundreds of meters, even higher, soaring in the sky. Then Onix has nothing to do. In this way, as long as Pidgeotto does not come down, it will never be decided. But the current battle between Mulin and Steven is not a serious battle. There are no rules in this regard. Mulin allowed Skarmory to fly hundreds of meters into the air, but did not pursue him. At this moment, Steven was a little embarrassed. Obviously he also knew this rule. However, in order to defeat Mulin's Lucario, he had to take advantage of some loopholes in the rules. Shout to Skarmory above, soaring in the sky. "Skarmory, use Sword Dance." Skarmory screamed high above the sky, and his body transformed into white energy, flying non-stop along with a fixed trajectory. Activate your own cells and strengthen your attack power. After successfully completing the first Sword Dance, Steven continued to let Skarmory use the second Sword Dance. When using the second Sword Dance, Skarmory's casting speed slowed down significantly. After all, as the number of times of casting increases, the difficulty of casting also increases. Each Pokémon is different due to its level and physical fitness. The number of times the Sword Dance used to strengthen the attack varies, but the limit is to use Sword Dance 3 times at most. When Steven made Skarmory use the third Sword Dance, Mulin said, "Xiao, use the power of Wave Guide to lift yourself up." Assault on Skarmory. Lucario shone with white light all over his body, which was his overflowing Wave Guide power. The power of the full Wave Guide is gathered under the feet. Then, relying on the burst of Wave Guide power, Lucario flew towards Skarmory's position. At this moment, Steven, seeing Lucario taking off, immediately changed his face. What? Lucario can fly? What Lucario will do after takeoff is self-evident. Xiu, or a sphere. Lucario, who lifted off with the power of the Wave Guide, condensed several aura spheres according to Mulin's instructions. Head towards the Skarmory fling that slowly releases Sword Dance in the air. Boom! Aura sphere hits Skarmory steadily, and at the same time interrupts Skarmory's Sword Dance forcefully. Steven clearly took this scene into his eyes. Helplessly sighed, "It's over." Skarmory lost too. Then, after taking off, Lucario quickly hit the side of the impacted Skarmory, hold the opponent's wings, and forcefully pull the opponent back to the ground. Immediately afterwards, there were successive attacks. Once the wings of bird Pokémon are restricted, their combat effectiveness and mobility will suffer a fatal blow. Soon, Skarmory lost all his strength and couldn't fight. Steven looked at Skarmory, who fell to the ground, and Lucario, whose physical strength and energy were still intact, and sighed helplessly in his heart. "I lost again." For 3 consecutive rounds, they failed to pose a threat to Mulin's Lucario. Couldn't it be? 232 facing legends with normal Pokémon! Lost Aggron, Metagross, Skarmory one after another. Steven's prophecy soon came true. Excadrill, Steelix, Empoleon came next. They were all defeated by Lucario, who had an equal rank advantage and was suppressed by attribute. All lost. Lost to Mulin's Lucario, no matter how good Steven is in his heart. It is also difficult to read a little discouraged. "Steven, you've done a great job." Cynthia, who has been watching the game from the sidelines, comforted Steven. "Anyone who has ever played against Mulin will have a deep sense of powerlessness." Steven stroked the bangs on his forehead and smiled wryly. "Sometimes I would envy why Mulin was recognized by legends such as Rayquaza, Reshiram, and Kyurem. Now, I have an answer." Speaking of this, Steven looked at Mulin in the distance, and continued, "Only if you are strong enough, can you be favored by all the proud legends. Even without the blessings of various legends, just Mulin's holding Pokémon. It also has the absolute strength to crush all the region champions." Yes. Cynthia also looked at her fiancé, full of pride in him. She, Kaluni, Red, and Steven, who just lost. The region champions that Mulin has defeated have reached as many as 4, and every time they fight, they are so easy to handle. Cynthia believes that even the top-ranked champions such as Dodo and Dandy, Mulin can easily beat them. Just as Cynthia's thoughts drifted away, Mulin took Lucario to her and said, "Cynthia, let Zekrom come out. I want Xiu to fight Zekrom." Leaving Cynthia in a daze for a while, then she woke up and said, "Lucario and Zekrom fighting?" Mulin's words just now pulled Steven's attention. There are billions of madness. No matter how strong Lucario is, he is just an ordinary Pokémon to fight the legendary Zekrom. Yeah. Mulin nodded calmly, responding to the surprised Cynthia and Steven because he found that now Lucario is on the verge of a breakthrough. I originally wanted to let Lucario break through the battle with Steven, but after the battle, I found out that except for Mega Metagross, Steven's Pokemon barely made Lucario a little more serious. Zekrom is not as strong as Primal Kyogre though, but with the peak level of the second level god, it can give Lucario a good pressure. Cynthia blinked her beautiful eyes and said, Mulin. Are you sure? If a weak Pokemon rashly fights against an overpowering rival, it is easy to leave a shadow in the heart of the weaker party, causing Pokemon to be afraid of fighting and unable to grow. Legendary Zekrom, against Lucario. Isn't this proper bullying the small by the big? Cynthia didn't say a word, but Mulin already understood what she meant. Looking at Lucario beside him with burning eyes, he said directly, Xiao, are you afraid of fighting Zekrom? Lucario let out a low cry, clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with burning fighting intent. I see. Seeing Lucario's appearance, Cynthia nodded solemnly. With the help of the staff of the Moss Deep Hotel, the nearly broken battlefield was quickly restored. And under Steven's command, the battlefield has been expanded and many security facilities have been installed. Ask for flowers. After everything was finished, Mulin and Cynthia stood at the corner of the battlefield. Cynthia, don't keep your hands. Before the battle against Earl Dervish, Mulin specifically confessed what he and Lucario wanted was a real fight, rather than humility and training with a training nature. Lucario, who was standing in the battlefield, waved his fist to signal that he was ready. I see. Cynthia felt the seriousness of Mulin and Lucario, and took out the dark stone. Then, awaken the Zekrom within. 0. Soon, Darkstone transformed into a 30-meter-tall black dragon. As soon as Zekrom, who mastered the power of thunder, appeared, the battlefield was immediately clouded. There is a faint flash of thunder in the dark clouds. Luli or tilde. The rest of Mulin's Pokemon did not feel depressed by Zekrom's power at all, but gathered together to cheer for Lucario. Feel the cheering of my partners and the strong pressure of Zekrom. Lucario let out a cry, hair growing wildly. The spikes on the hands, feet, and body pop out, and Mega Evolution is automatically turned on, entering the strongest combat mode. It even showed a sharp momentum to face the mighty Zekrom. Steven, who was watching the game off the court, saw a completely different Lucario. With mixed feelings in my heart, this is Lucario's strongest form. Mulin has surpassed the Regent Champion too much. 233 The strongest skill of the Steel System, Corkscrew Crash! According to what Mulin said at the beginning, Cynthia didn't hold anything back. As soon as the battle started, he immediately ordered, Zekrom, use Thunderbolt. Zekrom, who was in charge of the power of thunder, quickly condensed the lightning in the dark clouds, and blasted out a 5-meter-thick thunderspark pillar. Facing the overwhelming Zekrom, and the extremely fast attack speed of the electric system, Mulin knew that with Thunderbolt at this moment, there was no room to dodge. Xiu, use the Force Palm to protect yourself. The overflow of the wave guide formed a condensed shock wave, wrapped around Lucario's body, to resist Zekrom's thunder power. Boom. The thick lightning spark pillar 003 bombarded Lucario's position with lightning speed. Although lightning does not form an explosion like flames, but the impact force gathered by the lightning was enough to blow out a deep pit like spiderweb where Lucario was. Lucario in the deep pit puts his hands in a blocking outfit, and his feet are inserted into the ground, guiding the power of lightning to the ground to reduce the damage of the thunder and lightning. But even so, the thunderbolt used by Zekrom is so powerful. Lucario or Bbook's poured body kept flickering with residual spark, consuming Lucario's stamina. Xiao, it's our turn to fight back. Ice Punch. Lucario shouted loudly. The powerful thunderbolt just now did cause a lot of damage to him, but it didn't weaken his aura. With a vibration of both feet, the surrounding soil clods immediately collapsed in all directions. Then he jumped hard and jumped out of the deep pit. He rushed towards Zekrom non-stop. His fists seemed to be condensed with thousands of years of ice. Facing the impact of Lucario's lone courage, Cynthia quickly issued an order, Zekrom, use Thunder Punch. Zekrom, clad in Thunderbolt armor, gathers the thunder of a dark cloud in his claws, printed a huge thunder fist. Boom. The fists that condensed the ice and thunderlight collided to create a fierce explosion. Obviously, under such a confrontation, Zekrom, who is at an advantage at the same level, is even better. Lucario, who received a huge recoil, fell fiercely towards the ground like a falling meteor. Boom. There was a cloud of smoke and dust. Lucario, who fell to the ground, quickly stood up and stared at Zekrom, who was safe and sound. The burning fighting spirit in his eyes became more and more hot, and his aura soaring to the sky did not decrease by half. Steven, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, couldn't help being startled by the two Pokemon in the battle. On the one hand, I lament the strength of Zekrom, who is a legend, and on the other hand, I lament Lucario's indomitable spirit. Can't help but compare the Lucario of the wooden layer with his Metagross. Metagross may be able to counter the opponent's thunderous momentum against Zekrom, but under this powerful pressure, Metagross should only be able to exert half of its strength, and it may not be able to resist two such powerful attacks. There's no way it's going to be as easy as Lucario. Through comparison, Yinwu became more and more aware of the gap between Mew and him. As far as Lucario's heart of facing legends without being timid, his Pokémon cannot compare. Just as Steven was feeling, Lucario and Zekrom collided several times. Boom tilde. With a huge advantage, Zekrom once again smacked down Lucario. There are several deep pits of different sizes in the battlefield. Each is proof that Lucario was smacked down. Lucario stood up from the pit again, but the speed of getting up was not as fast as the first time. At the same time, Lucario of blue-black was smacked down consecutively, constantly colliding with the ground, bringing a lot of dirt on the body. Looked very embarrassed at this time. Cynthia, who commanded Zekrom to fight, couldn't bear Lucario at this time. Lucario is Mewlin's Earl Dervish Pokémon, and naturally he is also very familiar with Cynthia. Facing Mewlin on the other side, he said from a distance, "Mewlin, do you want to pause for a while?" I heard that Mewlin didn't speak but walked into the battlefield and looked at Lucario, who stood up from the deep pit. Being bombarded with smackdown continuously, the current appearance is very embarrassing. But Lucario, who was stubborn and wanted to become stronger, never thought of giving up. I see. Mewlin understood his Earl Dervish Pokemon's intentions without saying much, and reached out to pat the dust on Lucario's shoulder. Then, with Lucario's gaze, he looked at Zekrom in the distance. Yu said, "Rival is really strong." Staring at rival's Lucario, he shouted a word of affirmation. "That's the only way to use it." Lucario nodded. The power of Waveguard crazily gathered in the fist in his hand. The momentum continued to rise. It seems that from Lucario's body, a sharp energy that can pierce the heavenly officials has gathered. The dark clouds in the sky seem to be pierced by Lucario's sharp air, revealing a ray of sunshine shining on him. It's like putting on a layer of saffron-colored armor. Sensing the changes in the partners around him, Mewlin shouted, "Xiu, corkscrew crash." The screaming sound instantly lingered in the entire battlefield. In the next moment, Lucario's body flew straight out like a spiral. The power of the Waveguide aroused a manic effort, using the strongest skill of the steel system. Corkscrew crash. 234 ordinary Pokémon can also have an impact on mythical beasts! There is still energy left. Cynthia looked at Lucario, who was hitting like a shooting star. Her eyes were filled with surprise. But soon, she suppressed the emotions in her heart. After all, it is still in the battle. Facing the rushing Lucario, Cynthia said quickly, "Zekrom, turn on the overclocking mode. Use Thunderbolt." Zekrom is like the tail of an airplane engine, lit by a blue light. Let one Jun thunder gather rapidly. Zekrom, who turned on the overclocking mode, fully activated his strength, and sent out a 10-meter thick thunder light to meet the rushing Lucario. Boom! The two explosive energies collided together, creating a powerful airwave immediately. The manic airwave swept everything around. There is so much smoke and dust. The smoke and dust faded a little, and everyone saw the situation clearly. 26 On the battlefield, a giant spiderweb pit with a height of 50 meters was exposed. Lucario is falling in it. Zekrom with overclocking mode turned on. It's really too strong. Even if I use the strongest Z movement of the steel system, it can't affect Zekrom. Steven still has lingering fears about the power created by Lucario's corkscrew crash just now. But even so, there is nothing Zekrom can do. Steven felt a little lost, and sighed. Ordinary Pokémon, can it really be impossible to fight against legends? Just as Steven was feeling emotional, growl with different opinions came from beside him. Hiss Lily or the ones that issued growl are the rest of Mewlin holding Pokémon. Steven looked at Mewlin, who was standing in the arena without knowing why, and Xiang knew why the three Pokémon would whine in unison. The corners of Mewlin's mouth were obviously raised at this time, with a proud smile. Could it be? Steven's heart was shocked immediately, and he quickly looked towards Shenking. A loud shout came from the deep pit. This burst of shouting seems to be able to disperse the dark clouds containing thunder and lightning in the sky. At the same time, it pierced the breath of the sky and descended again. Lucario, who gathered his fighting spirit, jumped out of the deep pit. The khaki mud makes the body cast by Lucario or Bbook even more stalwart. Although there were many scratches on his body, the sharp aura could not be erased. Pokémon, Lucario. Gender, male. Attribute, steel. Fighting? Ability, Heart of Justice. When receiving a Dark-type move, increase its own attack, and when the Pokémon with this ability receives Dark-type continuous moves, every attack can trigger this ability. 1. Level, 71, median 3rd level God. Potential, upper level 3 God. Skills, Aura Sphere, Detect, Feint, Rock Smash, Metal Claw, Quick Attack, Power-Up Punch, Bone Rush, Meteor Mash, sword dance, genetic skills, cross chop, high jump kick, vacuum wave, bullet punch, Z skill, corkscrew crash, Contest condition, perfect. Remarks, this Pokemon has outstanding aptitude, endowed with extraordinary muscle toughness, has explosive power far exceeding that of its peers, and has a strong comprehension of quick attack skills. 1. Compared with the previous data, Lucario's level has only jumped from level 70 to level 71, but it was this level that made Lucario complete his transformation. The achievement of the median third-level god, Lucario looked at his trainer Mulin, with gratitude in his eyes. Xiao finally broke through. Mulin is proud of her Pokemon. Although Lucario advanced, the situation at this time is obviously not suitable for prolonging the battle. Mulin said decisively, Xiu uses it again. Corkscrew crash. After drinking heavily, Lucario waved his clenched fists regularly. A wave of turbulent mountains and rivers gathered from all directions and merged into Luca-027 Leo's fist. The white light shines brilliantly. The situation seems to be stirred with Lucario. Suddenly, an impact was sent towards Zekrom, blasting the strongest punch. Lucario, whistling like a shooting star, is extremely fast. Cynthia only had time to shout, Zekrom, use protect. Zekrom's energy overflows, converging into an electrical shield. Boom. Like a meteor strike, Lucario imprinted all the force of his fist on Zekrom's shield. Zekrom, who is as strong as the pinnacle of a second-level god, was hit like this. Can't help but take dozens of steps back. Lucario used his fist to prove it to everyone. Even ordinary Pokemon have an impact on mythical beasts. 235 Cynthia, I might be pregnant. As he jumped into the air and punched the strongest punch, Lucario's physical strength and energy completely reached the upper limit. With Lucario's breakthrough, this battle fell to Veilstone. As soon as the battle was over, the rest of Mulin's Pokemon quickly surrounded Lucario and sent a congratulatory growl to him. Lucario's expression was a little tired, but he smiled happily when he saw his partners who cared about him and felt himself after the breakthrough. Mulin. After the battle, Cynthia snuggled up to Mulin and looked at Lucario, who was overwhelmed by the stars. With him feeling the strengthening of old dervish Pokemon, Mulin was also in a good mood, hugging him gently. Moss Deep Grand Hotel. After the battle, Steven left. When it was time for dinner, Kund and Cynthia ate in the hotel together. While waiting for Mulin to be served, he looked at the information in his hand. Cynthia blinked her big eyes, raised her legs, and flicked her high heels with her little feet. Far asked, Mulin, why did you ask Steven for information on the Kanto region? Are you going to Kanto region? Mulin put down the information in his hand and nodded in approval. I do have plans to go to Kanto region. Oh? Why? Cynthia was a little bored waiting for the food to be served, and asked casually while biting her fork. Mulin took a sip of water and responded with a smile. The last time I went to Kanto region, I didn't stay long and I came back, and I have been planning to travel again. Mulin didn't tell the truth. He really wanted to go to Kanto region. But I didn't go there because I wanted to travel. Instead, I want to contact the Rockets. In the past few times, Unova, Sinnoh region, and Pokemon went berserk one after another, including Groudon and Kyogre Primal Reversion this time, and going berserk. Among them, the Rockets are definitely behind their actions. Compared with other troubled regions, the Kanto region, the base camp of the Rockets, is unusually calm. Even the law and order problem in Kanto region, which has been criticized by people, has improved. Everything in it is too abnormal. According to the calculation of time, Giovanni should have completed the god-making plan long ago. It has been so long since Mutwo, the strongest biological weapon, was created. But there is no news about Mutwo. Combined with various riots in other regions, Giovanni, the leader of the Rockets, seems to be brewing a broader idea. It is necessary to go to the Kanto region and find out what Giovanni is going to do in advance to prevent future crises. Hearing that Mulin wanted to go to Kanto region, Cynthia bit her fork and replied casually, anyway, there is still more than a month before the championship qualifying. Let's go to Kanto region. Yeah. Mulin nodded. While the two were chatting, the waiter brought out the prepared dishes. Finally come. Cynthia cheered excitedly when she saw the dazzling array of dishes. It can be seen that Xiao is hungry. When the dishes are ready, Cynthia will start stuffed cheeks. I just don't know why. Today's Cynthia has changed her habit of eating sweets, specifically dealing with meat. While eating, Mulin looked curiously at the sweet shrimp that Cynthia put down after only one bite. Sam asked strangely, why don't you eat your baked sweet shrimp with cheese? In order to take care of Cynthia's habit, Mulin will order some sweet food when ordering food. Cynthia took a bite of the cheese sweet shrimp, and then put it down again. I don't know why, I just don't want to eat sweets today. I'm a little tired. Just want to eat meat. Greasy. Cynthia didn't eat Mulin Xiao and took 2 bites of cheese sweet shrimp. Although the sweet taste is not very similar to his taste, it should not be wasted. For the rest of the meal, Cynthia skipped a bite of her usual sweet tooth. Even my favorite vanilla ice cream has not been touched. Forced, Mulin can only digest these sweets. All sweet. Mulin, who is used to salty mouth, is too bad. While eating, Cynthia's expression was not right. What's wrong? Mulin asked with concern. Cynthia's face was slightly flushed, and then she waved her hands. Run straight to the toilet. Is there something wrong with these meals? It shouldn't be. This is a 5-star hotel. Mulin watched Cynthia's leaving figure, and tried her food strangely. It tastes good. Fully in line with the standards of 5-star hotels. After a while, Cynthia came back from the toilet. Did you vomit just now? Tell me if you feel uncomfortable. Mulin caressed and reached out to stroke Cynthia's forehead. The temperature is normal without any abnormality. Cynthia looked at the food on the table, then at Mulin. Lisa, with a strange look on his face, he said, "It can't be that." "What that? What are you talking about?" Mulin was at a loss. Cynthia counted with her fingers, and said with a blush on her face, I haven't been here for more than a month." "What didn't come?" Cynthia's incoherent words made Mulin a little unresponsive. I gave Mulin a warm and angry look. "Yum ahead, don't you understand? I might be pregnant." As soon as this remark came out, Sleepy Piao was pleasantly surprised. "What? You are pregnant?" Sentence 236 excited like a child who got an Ultraman. "What did you say? You are pregnant?" Excited. Mulin's voice became louder unconsciously. "Don't be so loud. It's so embarrassing." Cynthia quickly waved her green fingers to make Mulin quiet. "Really?" Mulin suppressed the excitement in his heart, and looked at Cynthia expectantly. I don't know." Cynthia was also a little uncertain, counting with her fingers. "The last time I came to my aunt, it seemed to be last month." "What date was it?" "The 7th of last month. I remember it right." Mulin gave the exact time with certainty and accuracy. "Don't ask why he knows it. I understand everything." Cynthia gave Mulin another look, and counted with her fingers casually. "Today is the 19th. How many days have passed since then?" 42 days. Mulin quickly reported the time again. 42 days. Cynthia said thoughtfully, "I'm usually on time every month, but this time it happened to be 42 days, and I didn't." That is to say, hearing Cynthia's words, Mulin thought carefully. Combined with the fact that Cynthia didn't like sweets so much a while ago, and now she is retching, instantly brightens eyes. After all, the two of them usually do not take any measures. Excited heart, trembling hands. Mulin held Cynthia's little hand at once. "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get tested." "No hurries. Yes, or no, and I'm not in a hurry." Although Cynthia said this, there was a smile on her brows and eyes that couldn't be hidden. In the presidential suite of the Moss Deep Hotel, Mulin rubbed his hands nervously, his eyes following the door of the toilet. Finally, under his expectant gaze, Cynthia came out of the toilet. "How about it? Are you pregnant?" Mulin immediately collapsed from the bed and looked at Cynthia with concern. "Look for yourself." Cynthia smiled and handed over the pregnancy test stick in her hand. Mulin took it nervously, and then looked over. 2 bars. After seeing it clearly, Mulin immediately embraced Cynthia in a circle excitedly. "I'm really pregnant." "Very good. We have a baby." "Oh, let go. I'm out of breath." Cynthia patted Mulin's shoulder with her hand. "Ah yes." Mulin quickly put down the lovely girl in her arms. Cynthia thumped Mulin twice amusedly and a little depressed. Complained, "I just turned around in circles just now, which made me feel like vomiting again." "What?" "I didn't pay attention for a while." Mulin quickly apologized, put his arms around Cynthia's waist, and gently stroked her back to make her more comfortable. With the support of Mulin, Cynthia sat on the edge of the bed, stroked her stomach and smiled. "Are you so happy?" "Have." "Of course," Mulin said hastily. At this time, he was as excited as a child who got an Ultraman toy. "No, technically got a whole set of Ultraman toys." Cynthia teased and said, "Don't just be happy. I'm pregnant. Those black silks you just bought won't come in handy in a short time." Forehead. Mulin seemed to have been poured a basin of cold water. CGDF, pregnancy in October. Doesn't that mean that he will have to live for 10 months? The thought of having to be a vegetarian for 10 months made Mulin's face collapse. "I got the whole set of Ultraman toys, but I can't play them. It can only be placed in the window and watched from a distance." But soon, Mulin didn't give up and said, "In fact, theoretically speaking, as long as you get through the early stage, you can still wait for the later stage to stabilize." Cynthia immediately interrupted Mulin and said, "No. Although I said so, just in case." "Never take any chances." Mulin is a pure meat lover. When he thought of eating such a long vegetarian diet, he immediately wailed, Then what should I do?" "Cold salad." Cynthia spread her hands. "Okay, just in case." It's better to be cautious. In desperation, Wenwin had no choice but to accept the result. The washing machine can't wash clothes. If it doesn't work, it can only be washed by hand. One cannot be suffocated to death by urine. Come on, listen to the heartbeat of the little guy. Mulin carefully bent down and lay on Cynthia's abdomen to listen. While stroking Mulin's head, Cynthia smiled softly. "Fool, how could it be so fast? It will take at least 6 months to hear." "Hey, that's right." Mulin rubbed his head and giggled silly, knowing that soon after, I will be a father. In addition to excitement, sometimes silly. By the way, I'll tell Grandma the good news right away. Then book a flight home. Mulin took out his mobile phone and prepared to operate. Aren't you going to Kanto region? Cynthia asked in surprise. No, prenatal care is important. Cynthia is pregnant. Why not go to Kanto? Anyway, he mastered the legends of Rayquaza, Reshiram, Kyurem. Except for alpacas, there is basically no danger to his strength. Alright, listen to you. Cynthia stroked her little belly and said with a smile. 237 Cynthia, put this on and set me up! Exclamation mark. Sinnoh region, Celestic town, home. Baby Mulin, I'm hungry. In the dining room, Cynthia's voice came. Coming. Hearing Cynthia's shout, Sleepy took out the prepared breakfast one after another from the kitchen. Stomach-nourishing Lola porridge, rich in dietary fiber, and a proper salad. Hum milk full of protein, water chestnut buns with fresh meat, and brown sugar steamed buns are all available. Wow, so many! Looking at the luxurious breakfast, Cynthia couldn't help sighing. Husband, you are so kind to me. It should be. Mulin sat down with a smile and picked up a book called 40 Weeks Pregnancy Coaching. In addition, there are several books at hand. Pregnancy Care Guide, Newborn Dad's Psychological Regulation and Biological Clock Regulation, Pregnancy Encyclopedia, Bedtime Prenatal Education Stories for Expectant Fathers. No way. In order to complement the knowledge in this area, necessary work is still to be done. Seeing Mulin studying so hard, Cynthia felt happy, but at the same time felt a little depressed. Happiness, that's because Mulin studies very seriously and treats the crystallization of their love seriously. Lost, that's because Mulin did all this for the baby in her stomach. As a first-time mother, it is easy to worry about gains and losses. Cynthia took a sip of milk and looked at Mulin expectantly. Mulin, do you want a boy or a Stephanie? Mulin didn't even think about it, and said directly, boy. Stephanie is the same, I can do both. Cynthia was obviously dissatisfied with the answer, and continued, you must choose. Would you choose the boy or Stephanie? Mulin thought for a moment and said, if possible, I hope it's Stephanie. Because Stephanie is like you. Cynthia curled her lips. Sure enough, Nana is Dad's lover in his previous life. When you have a daughter, your attention will be on her. At this time, Cynthia has some small works. This is also normal. Basically new mothers have this problem. I am afraid that after the baby is born, my husband will no longer pay attention to me. But anyway, it's still early days. If this situation continues, it will become a question of whether to protect the big or the small. Sure enough, it's exactly as it says in the book. The power of knowledge is great. Mulin sighed in his heart, then put down the book in his hand, took Cynthia's little hand, stared into her eyes and said seriously, the reason why I like Stephanie is because Stephanie is more obedient. It won't take up too much of your time to take care of her. Yikiao's growth. Boys' normal characters are more out of the ordinary, which will make you very tired. Comparing the two, I will choose Stephanie. When she said this, Cynthia had already closed her deflated mouth. Obviously she was very good at Mulin's tricks. Seeing the results, Mulin continued, if I have the ability to decide the gender, I will definitely choose a boy. You said you chose Stephanie just now. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Cynthia pressed. Why? Mulin held each other's hands tightly, and said affectionately, because if it is a son, then there will be one more person to help me take care of you. Cynthia struggled and shook off Mulin's hand, slick tongue. After she became pregnant, Lucas became more maternal. But it didn't affect her girlishness at all. Hey, seeing that Cynthia returned to normal, Mulin laughed straight. After eating a large bowl of Lola porridge, plus salad and fresh meat buns, Cynthia rubbed her barely distended stomach and said, okay, I'm full. After speaking, he walked out of the dining room. Where are you going? Mulin asked quickly. Same. Go train Pokemon. Cynthia blinked and turned back. Training Pokemon? Mulin immediately refused after hearing this. No. Why not? Cynthia blinked her big eyes in confusion. Training Pokemon is such a dangerous thing. You can't go. Mulin said immediately. What if something goes wrong? Then what to do? Ask for flowers. Wait until you give birth to a baby, and you can only train after confinement. What? Hearing Mulin's words, Cynthia was dumbfounded, and wanted to refute, but Mulin didn't give her a chance to refute at all. But what? There is no but. It's not like you don't know your Garchomp is clumsy. The ghost-potted plant is weird. What should I do if I frighten the baby? Cynthia's face immediately collapsed. What about the championship ranking match in more than a month? If you don't train, what will happen if the Pokemon's combat power drops? Hey, you still want to participate in the championship ranking match? Fighting such a dangerous thing. You can do it now as a pregnant woman. I'll talk to Alliance later, and say you won't be participating this year. Mulin made a gesture to take out his phone and call Alliance. No. Cynthia quickly hugged Mulin's hand. Pleadingly, baby Mulin, you know it too. Championship ranking is very important to me. If you don't participate, that means you can't compete for the first place. No. Mulin picked up the 40 Weeks Pregnancy Guidebook in her hand, and said, the book says that pregnant women are not suitable for doing more activities. Baby Mulin. Cynthia felt like crying without tears. Working hard to conquer Zapdos, Zekrom is preparing to flex his muscles in the championship ranking match. but was told that even the chance to compete was gone. Mulin changed the subject. Do you want to participate, huh? Cynthia immediately looked at Mulin expectantly when she heard that things had turned around. Unless you promise me that the black silk I hoarded will come in handy after I'm settled down. I promise you. Mulin chuckled. The black lines on Cynthia's face. Put this on for me. 238 Let Ash win the championship early. Sinnoh region. The training ground at home in Celestic Town. Garchomp. The last 10 laps to go high. You don't rest until you finish training. Zapdos you too, don't slack off. Take the overweight protector and run back and forth. Mulin cheered on Cynthia's Pokémon and asked them to step up their training. Rortilda, Zitilda, out of breath, Garchomp and Zapdos exchanged glances and continued training. Get tired so easily. Compared to Xiao and the others, they are really weak. Mulin shook his head, and sat back to supervise. No way, Cynthia is having a miscarriage these days. Mulin had no choice but to help her 667 trained Pokémon. Mulin, Garchomp, can they bear it? Cynthia put her hand on Mulin's shoulder, looking at the Pokémon who gritted their teeth. Don't worry, if you can't cut a jade, you can't make a weapon. Without hard training, how can I become stronger? Mulin said casually. Too. Cynthia looked at Mulin's hands, without him bothering at all, and carried out various high-intensity training spontaneously. Lucario's hands and feet were all strapped with heavy overweight protectors, and he kept punching and kicking, just like playing. In addition to flying with a load, the little Lugia kept making emergency stops in the air, and then changed the direction of flying, so as to increase the flexibility in the flying process. Darkrai blazed energy and attacked the giant Dragonite. Exercise offensive and defensive abilities separately. Although the Pokémon are very hard, the training effect is obvious. In just a few days, he showed a stronger will. While Mulin was chatting with Cynthia, Ash who was beside him ran over with Infernape. Excited to say, Mulin teacher, my Infernape has become stronger. Mulin glanced over Ash's Infernape. Pokémon, Infernape, gender, male, attribute, fire, fighting, ability, fierce fire. When the physical strength is exhausted, the power of fire types moves will increase. Level, 59, elite peak, potential, elite peak, skills, ember, catch, leer, fury swipes, flame wheel, dig, flamethrower, fire punch. Contest condition, good. Remarks, you can use special fighting moves with both hands and feet, and the flames on your body will never go out for a lifetime. Mulin nodded slightly, and said, not bad Ash, your Infernape has been promoted to the peak of elite. Ash is worthy of being one of the protagonists in this world. It only took half a year for Infernape to evolve from a little chimcha to the current elite peak. The strength of his partners has grown, making Ash very happy. But besides being happy, Ash is more humble. Although Ash is rather reckless, he is also very aware of the gap between him and Mulin. Respectfully bow to Mulin, Infernape has grown today, thanks to the training method taught by teacher Flametilda. Infernape also imitated Ash's appearance and put on a pair of hands in a bow. Infernape is grateful to Mulin. When he was abandoned by Shinji, it was Mulin who helped him heal his chronic illness. And to encourage him aloud, he regained his confidence. You're being polite. Solaceon waved his hand. Cynthia on the side said to Ash with a smile on her face, there is still half a month left and the Lily of the Valley conference will start. According to Ash's current level, you probably have a chance to compete for the championship. Really? Ash looked at Mulin in surprise, expecting his affirmation. Lily of the Valley Conference is almost the ultimate goal of Ash's travels in the Sinnoh region. The importance is needless to say. Mulin didn't answer immediately, but thought for a while. In the original book, Ash defeated his arch-rival Shinji at the Lily of the Valley Conference and made it to the semi-finals. It's a pity that Ash lost to a mysterious trainer named Agdo in the end. This mysterious trainer has a Darkrai and Latios. Although I haven't really seen these two Pokémon, I can judge from the battle situation in the animation. Darkrai and Latios of Darkrai are probably around the elite level. And Ash's current strongest Infernape has reached the peak of elite. Secondly, Sceptile, Heracross, and Torkoal have also reached the initial stage of elite. Coupled with the fact that Lianguangshi Shendu can be electrified, it is estimated that the probability of Ash winning this time will be much higher. Thinking of this, Kund encouraged him aloud. I also think Ash is very good at winning the championship. However, in the coming time, you can't start to slack off just because your partner becomes stronger. With Mulin's affirmation, Ash's eyes brightened immediately, and his whole person became confident. Bowed, thank you, Mulin teacher. I will definitely step up my training. Mulin waved his hand with a smile. Go. Yes. Ash bowed again and took Infernape back to the training ground for training. Lily of the Valley Conference. Watching 5.3 Ash sweating profusely with Pokémon on the training ground, Mulin's thoughts drifted away. According to the plot in the original book, Ash will travel to the Alola region to win the championship. But because I came to this world, the original fixed world has changed. Knowing, contacting and teaching Ash, and letting Ash win the championship in advance, seems to be quite good because Mulin defeated Team Galactic headed by Cyrus in Sinnoh region. The whole Sinnoh region is quiet and peaceful. But in the Kalos region it is a different look. Kaluni is currently facing an extremely difficult matter. 239 Kaluni is the champion and also a girl in the Cardamom age. Kalos region, Lumiose City. In Mulin's impression, Kaluni, who speaks softly, smiles elegantly, and behaves aristocratically, has changed from usual. At this moment, she possesses the majesty of a Grand Duchess. The white shirt set off the frost on her face. Kaluni snorted softly, staring coldly at Malva, who was stared at by everyone with unkind faces. He said coldly, as Kalos Region Duchess, one of Kalos Alliance Elite Four. You're actually a member of the evil organization Team Flare. Sana Tilda. Feeling the anger in Kaluni's heart, the mood of her main battle Pokemon Gardevoir also began to change. The swing of the little hand Solaceon immediately filled the surrounding space with a psychic energy zone. As long as Kaluni orders 26, she will make a move at any time. Following Kaluni's scolding, Wickstrom in armor yelled angrily, Malva, your behavior has brought shame to your family. Elite Zimmy, who is in charge of the water department, also said, it is a shame to us to be an Elite Four with someone like you. Elite Drasna, who is in charge of dragons, didn't speak, but her face was full of disappointment. In the face of criticism, Malva did not justify his actions. Instead, she eagerly said to Kaluni who was sitting in the first seat, Kaluni Grand Duke, I will bear the sins I committed. But now, is not the time to discuss these. Team Flare has already controlled you little. If you don't stop it, it will be too late. Malva's words stunned several people present. Little with a dark aura? Wasn't it defeated by Mulin's Rayquaza and Reshiram last time and turned into a cocoon of destruction? How could it be controlled by Team Flare? Kaluni's face was covered with frost, and she questioned, be more specific. Why is Little controlled by Team Flare? What do they want to do? Malva hurriedly said, the reason why the sleeping Little woke up early is because of Team Flare Lysandre, and after being defeated, Little turned into a cocoon of destruction. But at the same time, Little who is under the weak contest condition is also controlled by Lysandre. The reason why Lysandre controls Little is to make him an energy converter to activate the ultimate weapon. Now, their experiment is nearing completion. The ultimate weapon. Hearing this word, Kaluni subconsciously took a breath. The remaining three elites present were all shocked. As high-level members of the Kalos Alliance, they understand the meaning of the ultimate weapon. Many historical materials clearly record the horror of the final weapon. At this time, Kaluni could no longer care about the elegance of the nobility, and cursed, Lysandre is crazy. Once the final weapon is activated, it is likely to destroy the entire Kalos region. Malva smiled wryly, destroy beautiful things before they are polluted by people's hearts, in order to keep the best side forever. That's what Lysandre said. That's why I defected from Team Flare. Kaluni Grand Duke, they must be stopped. Otherwise, the Kalos region will. I heard that Kaluni's pretty face showed obvious anger. Kalos region, absolutely nothing will happen. Say, Lysandre, where are they now? Malva swallowed hard and made an obscure voice. Lysandre doesn't trust me. I don't know where the final weapon is. Knowing that the matter was urgent, Kaluni immediately ordered, 3 elites, listen to the order. I order you in the name of Kalos Grand Duchess, Kalos Champion. Do whatever it takes to find out where any Team Flare is. When you get the news, report to me immediately. Yes. Wickstrom, Zimmy, and Drasna took orders one after another and left quickly to investigate. As for you Malva, Kaluni shifted her eyes to Malva, and said coldly 267, after the matter is resolved, the Pokemon Alliance will judge your crime. Come on, confiscate her Pokeball. Prison her up. Yes. Immediately there were Alliance investigators around, who took away Malva's precious ball and escorted her away. After arranging all the matters, only Kaluni was left in the conference room. With no outsiders, Kaluni shed her disguise. There is obvious panic and bewilderment between the brows. In front of the Elite Four, she is a noble Grand Duchess and the backbone of everyone. When these identities are removed, she is just a young girl in the Cardamom age. Facing the tremendous pressure, Kaluni subconsciously thought of Mulin. If you are here, it will be fine. Kaluni took out her mobile phone, and after a long silence, she still made a call. 240 Lysandre, Kaluni, keep your beauty alive. Lumiose City in the Kalos region is an international metropolis. In addition, there is an artistic atmosphere everywhere. The 4 main roads are romantically named Spring Avenue, Summer Avenue, Autumn Avenue, and Winter Avenue. On the side of Spring Avenue, there is a green square. The square is full of evergreen plants all year round. Here, the citizens gathered here for the Emperor's leisure and vacation. Suddenly, without warning, a crimson light beam with a withering aura landed in the very center of the green square. Citizens who were not aware of the danger thought it was some sort of performance. But gradually, they discovered that this was not a show. but an extinction. The people who were illuminated by the crimson beam quickly turned into a grey stone statue. Absolutely no vitality. The stone statues are like lifelike sculptures normal. When I saw a living person, it turned into a lifeless stone statue. The other citizens finally realized that something was wrong. Immediately, running around in a panic. It's just that they didn't run far, and several crimson beams fell in the air. Whenever it is affected a little bit, it will become a stone statue. In less than a minute, all living creatures in the entire square turned into stone statues that had lost their vitality. A suburb of Lumiose City. The leader of Team Flare, the red-haired Lysandre, used the hologram in his hand to see what just happened. Appreciatively, he casts his eyes on Ultraman, who is being restrained and used as an energy converter. A lot of energy is being transmitted to the final weapon around him through Ultraman. Seeing that his plan was carried out, Lysandre put away the hologram machine in his hand and paced leisurely, eyes full of madness. He spoke to the surrounding Team Flare members. Because there are too many human beings in this world, their hearts are filthy. Their dirty hearts will pollute the beauty of this world. For the beauty of this world to last forever, the best way is to freeze the beauty. Sealed forever in our memory. Team Flare members, you will join me in witnessing a day that will last forever. As Lysandre's voice fell, all the surrounding Team Flare members shouted loudly. Obviously these people have been completely brainwashed by Lysandre. Believe in his philosophy. Just at this moment, several black dots appeared in the distance soaring in the sky. Those black spots were traced to the Carlos Alliance elite headed by Caluni. Lysandre had already prepared for this, pointing his finger at Caluni and the others who were approaching quickly. Instigatingly, he spoke to all the Team Flare members present. We are working hard for the beauty of this world. In the eyes of some ignorant people, it is evil, attachment, and madness. We don't need to care about them, because they can't understand us. We are ideal pioneers, we grasp the truth, and our thinking height is destined to be higher than ordinary people. Speaking of this, Lysandre paused for a moment, and then broke out with greater emotion, raising his arms and shouting, "My dear partners, for our lofty ideals, please follow me and protect him." Yes, yes, yes. Team Flare's executive Aliana, Bryony, Claire, Mabel, Xerosic, all pulled out their Pokeballs, released their respective main battle Pokemon. The members of Team Flare gathered here released their Pokemon after seeing the actions of the executives. Everyone has a frenzied expression on their faces. Even facing the elites of the Carlos Region Alliance, they fought for the so-called noble ideals. Very good. My team members, I'm proud of you. Lysandre looked at his team members with satisfaction. The Carlos elite, headed by Kaluni, fell from the sky one after another. Madman. Lysandre, you're a total lunatic. You are ... you're a bastard. Kaluni scolded as soon as she fell down. Kaluni, who has only accepted noble etiquette since she was a child, has a limited vocabulary for swearing. Lysandre didn't care about Kaluni's scolding, but instead said, "Caluni, don't you want to keep your beauty forever? Isn't it a joy to fix you at the most beautiful moment forever?" Caluni is pissed at Lysandre, who is already insane. Okay, I am too lazy to talk to such a lunatic, pointing to the ultimate weapon standing on the ground, which continuously shoots dark red beams towards the sky, and said, "Everyone pay attention. All attack the ultimate weapon." Yes, yes. The investigators led by the three elites all shouted. Quickly released their respective Pokemon, ready to go. Team Flare members, please come with me and protect our ideals. Lysandre shouted, releasing his main battle Pokemon Gyarados, Pyroar. The battle between the two sides is on the verge of breaking out. 241 Fierce Battle, Caluni's Hero! Lumiose City, a suburb. Various energy attacks are in mutual bombardment. Team Flare, headed by Lysandre, is fighting against the elites of Alliance, headed by Caluni. Members of Team Flare, against the investigators of Alliance. The executive of Team Flare, join forces to fight the three elites. Lysandre, leader of Team Flare, is controlling his Mega Gyarados and Pyroar, fighting Caluni's Mega Gardevoir and Goodra. The overall strength of Team Flare is obviously weaker than the Alliance headed by Caluni, but the people of Team Flare were bewitched by Lysandre, and at this time they all took on the will to fight to the death. For a time, the battle between the two sides was inextricably linked. Gardevoir, dazzling gleam. Caluni yelled from the middle of the battlefield. Sana Tilda. With a wave of Mega Gardevoir's slender fingers, the surrounding energy gathered. Several beams of light containing strong fairy energy came out from Tan Yao, attacking her rival Mega Gyarados. The dazzling gleam of the fairy series can cause outstanding damage of 250 to the Mega Gyarados of Water plus Evil. As the leader of Team Flare, Lysandre has strong strength, and quickly said, "Pyroar, use Flamethrower to fight back." Flame Tilda. Pyroar's fiery red mane seems to be the embodiment of the scorching sun. When the beam of light shone and fell quickly, a fiery flame was sprayed out. The two streams of energy merge together and cancel each other out. Caluni points to Lysandre's Gyarados, Goodra, Power Whip. Slimy Tilda. The docile Goodra is not ambiguous at all when fighting. The energy condenses quickly, transforming into two green light whips, whipping towards the target. Gyarados, Aqua Tail. Lysandre yelled. Raw Tilda. The rough Mega Gyarados roared, the tail condensed a shining blue light, and bombarded the oncoming Goodra. After the two Pokémon collided with each other, Kaluni's Goodra restrained the opponent and was even better. It's just that Lysandre immediately, CGCP, let Mega Gyarados return to defense, and did not give Kaluni a chance to pursue. Taking advantage of the pause, Kaluni quickly cleaned the battlefield. The summoned investigators are entangled with Starfish's Team Flare members. The 5 executives of Team Flare are watching 3 elites on beat up. Even if the combat power of the 3 elites is obviously stronger than them, they will not be able to break through in a short time. There is no possibility of supporting her, and the final weapon that has been activated still emits crimson light from time to time. The battle has been going on for more than 10 minutes. Continuing to entangle like this is not an option. We must find a way to stop it. Kaluni's eyes focused on the final weapon that was constantly spraying crimson. She understands that the primary goal now is to destroy the ultimate weapon, instead of messing with the Team Flare guys. Thinking of this, Kaluni quickly adjusted her tactics, pointed at the final weapon and said coquettishly, "Gardevoir, use the 5th of the moon." Sana tilde. With a wave of his hands, Gardevoir immediately used energy to conjure a moon in the sky. Moonlight condenses the shining magic Lucas, trying to bombard the standing ultimate weapon. Lysandre was already on guard. It is his life's effort to activate the ultimate weapon to solidify the entire world. Kaluni will not be easily destroyed. HMPH. With a cold snort, he stopped immediately. Pyroa. The characters are explosive. Flame tilde. Pyroa turned into the scorching sun and leapt into the air. The flame of spit up, like a large character, scattered the energy scattered by moonlight. Gyarados, Iron Tail. Lysandre ordered to pursue. Raw tilde. Dazzling white light flashed all over Mega Gyarados' body, and he quickly launched an attack. Condescendingly whipped down towards Mega Gardevoir. Iron Tail of Steel type can cause a lot of damage to Mega Gardevoir, who has just cast a skill and is temporarily in a skill vacuum. In a hurry, Goodra can only resist. Goodra, Aqua Tail. Slimy tilde. Goodra quickly blocked in front of Mega Gardevoir, using the water system Aqua Tail to deal with Mega Gyarados' attack. Gyarados, also known as Violent Dragon, was known for its strong physical attack ability. After Mega Evolution, the physical offensive ability has been greatly enhanced. On the other hand, Goodra's special defense ability is the best, but her physical defense ability is not outstanding. Boom tilde. Under the collision of pure power, it is obvious that Mega Gyarados is superior. Goodra was hit by a huge force, suffered a certain degree of loss, and then fell to the ground. Fortunately, Mega Gardevoir was not attacked because of Goodra's efforts to resist. Goodra. Kaluni felt sorry for Goodra, who had been injured, and glared at Lysandre more and more. If she plays steadily, she has a huge advantage. Defeating Lysandre is just a matter of time. However, the situation is urgent now, and there is no extra time for her to fight steadily. Hateful. Just when Kaluni, who had suffered a dark loss, was about to gather and attack again. But he suddenly found that 2 of Lysandre's Pokémon had returned to him. Looking up anxiously at soaring in the sky, Mega Gyarados' usually sharp eyes were now full of fear. The remaining Team Flare members and the 3 elites who were fighting also stopped the battle in unison. Everyone, all Pokémon looked at soaring in the sky in the distance. Because there is a white spot of light approaching quickly. Even if the 2 sides skid along for several kilometers, everyone present can feel a sacred and inviolable atmosphere. Kaluni turned her head in surprise, with unconcealable admiration in her beautiful eyes. The pressure like a huge boulder on his heart dissipated instantly because of his arrival. Can't help but say, Mulin. 242 Lysandre's backhand is completely crazy! Exclamation mark. From far to near, Reshiram directly entered the center of the battlefield, and carried Mulin steadily to the ground. Because of Reshiram's holy and powerful aura, the surrounding Team Flare retreated unconsciously. Mulin frowned and looked at the numerous Team Flares around him. He casually took out several baby balls from his waist. This unleashes your Pokémon in hand. Lucario's sharp aura is disdainful to the audience. No one dared to meet his piercing eyes. His tilde. The condensed black mist on Darkrai's body is both mysterious and terrifying. Little Lugia, who bears the blood of a beast, rolls up a small hurricane every time she flaps her wings. The huge Dragonite has a very strong visual pressure. Every time Mulin releases a Pokémon, Team Flare's team members will automatically retreat. When the giant Dragonite appeared, the entire Team Flare was almost irresolute. Without him, Mulin's handheld Pokémon exudes unparalleled oppression. Mulin didn't stop and threw the last red and white ball. After a burst of red light, the surrounding temperature plummeted. Brutally cold Kyurem, descend. A few members of Team Flare who were not determined enough were frightened and dumbfounded when they saw the brutal Kyurem. Run. There were even a few Team Flare players who couldn't bear Kyurem's oppression and ran away without looking back. The brutish Kyurem let out a savage roar, instantly crushing the fragile hearts of the Team Flare players. More and more Team Flare members are running wildly. Because of Lysandre's serious brainwashing, Team Flare members who did not escape were also blue-faced and pale under Kyurem's strong pressure. 3 elite, even knowing that Mulin is their support. However, Under the terrifying pressure of Kyurem, he silently backed away a few steps. Seeing the defeated Team Flare with no will, Mulan jumped off Reshiram and walked towards Kaluni. She asked with concern, "Kaluni, are you okay?" Seeing Mulan's strong presence, Kaluni replied with gratitude and admiration, "It's okay, with Mulan, there is a backbone. She can finally unload the heavy burden in her heart." Kaluni looked around, only Mulan and his Pokémon, and asked, "Where's Cynthia? Is she not here?" "She's having a baby at home, so it's not suitable for her to walk around now," Mulan replied casually. Hearing Mulan's answer, Kaluni couldn't help but become happy. Cynthia is not here, which means she can get along with Mulan independently. Although the current situation seems a bit out of date, but it doesn't matter anymore. Mulan didn't know Kaluni's petty thoughts, so she shifted her gaze to Lysandre, who was tightly surrounded by Team Flare. As Mulan's eyes turned, his Pokémon all stared at Lysandre with unfriendly expressions. At this time, Lysandre felt like a light on his back, ice on the soles of his feet, and pain in his heart. "Lysandre, surrender or die. You choose." After Mulan finished speaking, he took a step forward. At the same time, his Pokémon all stepped forward. The overwhelming oppression made Lysandre almost out of breath, and even seemed to miss a breath. But thinking that the final weapon has been turned on, and so many Team Flare players are watching, in order not to lose her prestige as a leader, Lysandre reluctantly took a step forward to meet Mulan's gaze. "Mulan, I admit that you are very strong. But no matter how strong you are, the final weapon has been activated. It can't be closed. In this world, everything will stay at the best moment. Everyone, all Pokémon, and all creatures, except Team Flare, will be turned into eternal stone statues." Having said that, Lysandre seems to have regained some fighting spirit. Looking directly into Mulan's eyes, he spit out the words viciously, "Even you and your Pokémon will be turned into stone statues under the influence of the final weapon. Seeking flowers." 0. Lysandre's voice fell, and the standing final weapon sprayed out a crimson beam of light. Mulan was completely unmoved by Lysandre's threats. Gaze lock on the standing final weapon. "Can't stop?" "Ha ha ha ha." Lysandre laughed wildly. "That's right. When I got the final weapon, I have already modified it. The off switch has been removed. Even if you are a god, you can't escape the Zug's beam of the ultimate weapon. Since it can't be stopped, let's destroy him soon." Mulan chuckled, his eyes full of sarcasm. Then, pointing to the standing final weapon, Reshiram, Fusion Flare. After receiving Mulan's instructions, Mulan made a melodious dragon cry. The surging flame energy quickly condensed. Like the fire of divine punishment, it descended from the sky. Under the impact of the hot flames, the standing final weapon shook violently. "What?" Seeing that the ultimate weapon is so fragile, the arrogance that is more powerful disappears in an instant. The ultimate weapon that carries his dreams is extremely fragile. A few more times and it will collapse. The ultimate weapon is the pursuit of Lysandre. It is also his belief he is absolutely not allowed to be destroyed. Just as Mulan was about to continue to let Reshiram launch an attack, Lysandre yelled at Xerosic, the chief scientist of Team Flare. "Xerosic, launch Plan B." Xerosic nodded numbly, and took out a small machine. Pressed it without hesitation. Suddenly, dozens of small explosions came from the battlefield. As the explosion sounded, a burst of white energy spread across the entire battlefield. 243 Kaluni, rubbing tears, asks Mulan for help. In order to achieve her goal, Lysandre is well prepared. In the hands of Giovanni, he got a secret recipe to make Pokémon crazy. In exchange, Lysandre contributed to the Rocket's Team Flare's years of technology research, collected intelligence, including his years of wealth. And the white mist seeping into the surroundings is the mist that drives Pokémon crazy. The surrounding white mist instantly enveloped all Pokémon in it. Kaluni's originally pretty Gardevoir inhaled the white mist. Her eyes became bloodshot and dark red. Apparently, it has entered the frantic contest condition. Gudra, who has a cute appearance and a docile personality, has become ferocious when expressing February 17th. With blood-red eyes, there is only endless desire to destroy the three elites. The elite investigator, their Pokémon have all gone mad. The coverage area of the white mist is extremely wide, except for the Pokémon on Kaluni's side who are affected. The Pokémon of Team Flare are also eroded by the rage factor. Hiss. All of a sudden, the violent growl of Pokémon is everywhere. In the entire battlefield, only Mulan's handheld Pokémon, which has been nourished by the three divine powers for a long time, is not affected. Gogot, what's wrong with you? Talonflame, don't kill me. Tyrantrum, don't. Sensing the irritability of the Pokémon, their trainers made noises one after another. But after the Pokémon become mad, they have no rationality in their minds. Only the boundless desire to destroy, and the manic ones were the first targets to attack. It is the trainer closest to them. For a time, the entire battlefield was in chaos. Many trainers are damaged by their respective Pokémon. Kalun's Gardevoir cast a mind-disrupting shot on the surroundings. The indiscriminate attacks caused headaches to those around them. Gardevoir, Wake up! Kaluni covered her head and yelled loudly. Gardevoir, with red eyes, looked at her trainer Kaluni with a rude flick of the little hand. He immediately shot out a confusion. Gardevoir, it's me. Kaluni's eyes widened. She couldn't believe that her close Pokémon was going to attack her, and she just stood there. Just when confusion was about to hit Kaluni, Myulin hugged Kaluni and fixed her in his arms. Xiu, Aura Sphere. Lucario condensed an Aura Sphere and blasted away the attacking confusion. Myulin, why are Gardevoir and the others like this? Gardevoir, curled up in Myulin's arms, was completely at a loss. This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. They were affected by the Berserk factor, and Gardevoir lost his mind. Myulin replied to Kaluni, and continued to hug her to prevent her from being affected by the violent Pokémon around her, and then ordered, "Little, big man, be careful around you." Silver, use Whirlwind. Reshiram, Kyurem used Dragon Breath to blow away these white mist. Lucario and the giant Dragonite are by his side. Little Lugia kept flapping its wings, rolling up a hurricane! Reshiram and Kyurem continuously rolled up the Dragon Breath to disperse the white mist. Soon, the white mist that can make Pokémon violent will dissipate. However, the Pokémon that fell into a frenzy is still in constant destruction. Gardevoir. Gudra huddled in Myulin's arms. Kaluni, who was not in danger, saw her two Pokémon. I was violently attacking all the living things around me, and I couldn't help asking Myulin for help. Myulin ... Please save my Pokémon. Okay. Myulin nodded solemnly, let go of Kaluni in her arms, pointed at Gardevoir who was attacking violently, and said, Darkrai, Dark Void. Darkrai's strands swayed haze, creating black alternate dimension, forcibly tugging at Gardevoir's will. Myulin took this opportunity and rushed to Gardevoir's side quickly. Put your hand on Gardevoir's head. At the same time, the three divine powers were instilled into Gardevoir's body. It was the same as when dealing with Kyogre and Groudon. Absorb the frenzy in her head. Gardevoir was nourished by the power of the three gods, and the rage in his mind quickly faded away. Soon, he regained his sanity. Solved Gardevoir. Myulin repeated the same trick, absorbing Milong's fury. Gradually, Myulin's beautiful eyes became a little bloodshot. The berserk factor that had not been cleared and was temporarily imprisoned in his body kept accumulating. In a disorderly and chaotic environment, the final weapon that was bombarded by Reshiram's fire of punishment just now was already crumbling. Coupled with the violent Pokémon Random 4.0 attack, it was finally unbearable. It collapsed. The collapsed final weapon, with black energy fluid flowing out of it. These energy liquids are corroding the ground and melting the vitality of the land. Lysandre, who was in chaos, sighed inwardly as he looked at the collapsed final weapon. Giovanni, you are right. Things that are doomed will eventually fail. Lysandre took a deep look at Myulin. Myulin, let's see how you deal with this mess. After speaking, he left without looking back. 244 The order of nature is broken. Zygarde! Myulin, who had just absorbed the scissors berserk factor that attacked everywhere and caused several investigators' casualties, yelled at Kaluni. Kaluni, it's now. Gardevoir, use teleport. Teleport Myulin to Ms. Drasner's Altaria. Kaluni gave the order immediately. Kalun's Gardevoir, small hands pointing at each other. Wrap Myulin with mysterious psychic, quickly warp space, and teleport Myulin to the back of Altaria who is spraying Dragon Pulse everywhere. Myulin put his hands on Altaria's head, quickly absorbing the other's crazy emotions. Drasner's Altaria, quickly fell silent. In the next second, Myulin spoke again, asking Kaluni's Gardevoir to teleport him away to rescue the next Pokémon. Time passed by 1 minute and 1 second. 10 minutes later, the Pokémon on the Alliance side all regained their sanity under Myulin's help. 26 At this moment, Myulin, because he has absorbed a large amount of berserk factor, his eyes are as red as blood dripping normal. Kaluni, Carlos, Elite and others surrounded the trapped side one after another. Without his help, their Pokémon simply wouldn't be able to smelling salts. One could say without Myulin, all of them will die at the hands of the violent Pokémon, and most likely they will die at the hands of the Pokémon they carefully cultivated. Everyone looked at Myulin who saved them with grateful and worried eyes. Kaluni caressed Myulin's back with her bare hands. Myulin, what do you think? Myulin twitched the corners of his mouth, showing a ferocious smile. I'm fine. Give me some time, I can adjust. Myulin didn't push it too hard. The three divine powers that have been strengthened are simply the nemesis of the berserk factor, and can very well imprison the berserk factor. Given enough time, he can clean it up completely. Kaluni said gratefully, Myulin, thanks to you. Otherwise we could. Before Kaluni could finish her sentence, Drasner, who was older and more sophisticated, patted her and motioned her not to disturb Myulin. Kaluni also reacted, and said softly to Myulin, Myulin, you can rest assured to adjust. Leave the next thing to us. Myulin put away his Pokémon with a soft response, and stepped aside to enter the calm mind contest condition. Use the power of the three gods to ablate the newly absorbed berserk factor. Altaria, Flamethrower. Gardevoir, Flame. Scissor, Bullet punch. All kinds of attacks blasted towards the collapsed final weapon. Boom, boom, boom. In order not to let the ultimate weapon fall into the top of the villains again, Kaluni led the crowd to completely destroy the ultimate weapon once and for all. The internal parts of the collapsed final weapon were bombarded by various energies, and soon completely collapsed. Under the perseverance of everyone, the huge final weapon was turned into ruins. It's just that as the final weapon was completely destroyed, more and more black liquid was scattered around. It is unknown what these black liquids are made of. In addition to dissolving the vitality of the ground, it also has extremely strong corruption radiation. The fixed natural order became shattered under the corrosion of the black liquid. But Kaluni and the others don't know about this. What she cares more about now is to destroy the ultimate weapon and eliminate its harmfulness. The land is polluted. Just think of a way to treat it later. Very typical modern thinking. With the collapse of the final weapon, the Carlos Alliance elites led by Kaluni breathed a sigh of relief. Lysandre escaped, and the remaining members of Team Flare were killed or wounded, and the extremely dangerous final weapon was completely destroyed. Everything seemed to calm down. Wickstrom, Mr. Zimmy, Miss Drasna, you go back to Lumiose City first, so that the rest of the citizens don't panic. The nightmare will pass. Also, tell all gym owners and elite investigators in the Carlos region to pay attention. Once you find Lysandre's whereabouts, shoot and kill him immediately. Caluni issued an orderly order. Yes, yes, yes. The three elites took 017's life one after another. All this seems to be settled. But in fact, it's not like that. A faint voice came from the vast land. Human beings and not to be trusted. Humans disrupt the natural order. Without human beings, the order of nature would not be disrupted. Humanity needs to be cleared. The abrupt voice suddenly sounded in everyone's minds. Everyone present looked around, trying to find the source of the sound. The junction of the Carlos region. A black dragon quickly shuttled through the clouds, leaving behind a Liuan line that is hard to find by human eyes. This 100-meter dragon is exactly Rayquaza, who has a close bond with Mulin. When Mulin absorbed the Pokemon's rage factor, Rayquaza sensed it. Spontaneously, they rushed from the distant Hoenn region towards the Carlos region. 245 Zygarde's human clearance plan. The voice that appeared faintly appeared in everyone's minds without any obstacles. It also appeared in Mulin's mind at the same time. Mulin, who was originally meditating on calm mind and trying to suppress the berserk factor. Imprison is strengthened by the movement of the three divine powers. But the sudden appearance of the voice broke the balance. There is a loophole in the impenetrable line of defense. Suddenly, there was a breach in the strong dam built by the three divine powers. The berserk factor is like the water in the dam, constantly hitting the tiny breach. Soon, the breach became bigger, and it became uncontrollable. Mulin frowned, his veins bulged, and the nails of his clenched fists were constantly embedded in his flesh. At this time, he was suffering from great pain. He tried his best to control the three divine powers, stabilizing his sanity that was about to disappear. Just now was there a voice speaking? Kaluni asked the three elites around her a little uncertainly. Drasna quickly replied, what did that voice say? Human beings are untrustworthy. Strange words. Yes, 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 yes. Steel-type elite Wickstrom, who was wearing armor, immediately said, what about natural order? That's right. I heard that too. The investigators around echoed what Kaluni said, which made Kaluni's face serious. It is not easy to accurately convey words in the minds of so many people. Even Gardevoir, who has reached the peak of her championship, can only connect up to 7 people using telepathy. Zimmy, the water element elite who had been silent all this time, said, Kaluni, Grand Duke, listen to the tone just now. The owner of the voice doesn't seem to be a human being. Zimmy's words put everyone on alert. Not human? What is that? Pokemon. Thinking of this possibility, Kaluni's eyes flashed with surprise. Could it be that the owner of the voice is a legend? Natural order. Keeper of order. Zygarde? Exclamation mark. As if to confirm Kaluni's words, a tiny green light flickered from an extremely far away place. At the same time, countless tiny green lights came one after another. Countless green lights converged, making it impossible for everyone to open their eyes. The vast and surging momentum emerges spontaneously. After countless green lights gathered, a giant Pokemon shaped like a cobra and as high as 30 meters appeared in front of everyone. At first glance, this Pokemon looks a bit like an enlarged, green version of Bbook. Only different from this are his eyes. Composed of 4 green hexagons, it looks like the compound eyes of insects. Behind the head is a lizard-like black decorate with green hexagons on it. There are a lot of forks in the tail, and there are 5 pictures in full. One of the 3 forms of Zygarde, the Guardian of Order. Kaluni covered her mouth and looked at the green Bbook in shock. As the high level of the Carlos region, the 3 elite also recognize this Pokemon. Xerneas the Merciful of Life. Vlutal, the Terminator of all things. Zygarde, Keeper of Order. These 3 Pokemon are the Pokemon in the mythology of the Carlos region. I am the Keeper of Order, Zygarde. The majestic and heavy voice sounded in everyone's minds. Zygarde in the snake form looked majestically at Vlutal, who was tortured by Team Flare and was almost dying under the contest condition. He also looked at the black liquid flowing out from the wreckage of the final weapon. constantly destroying the natural ecological order. He spoke majestically again, "In the name of the Guardian of Order, I will restore the broken order." After Zygarde's voice fell, the snake exuded a green energy like ripples, representing nature. The black liquid that corrodes and radiates is watered down. The land comes back to life. The actions of Zygarde, the Guardian of Order, made Kaluni and the others more serious. Because of what Zygarde said just now, there is another sentence. "Clear humans." Sure enough, Gerd's majestic voice reappeared. Humans ... disrupted the natural order. Naturally, there is no need for humans. In the name of the God of Order, I will eliminate you. Everyone present heard hostility from Zygarde's voice. Eliminate humans. Wait. Kaluni was about to explain, but found that Zygarde's long snake tail was slapping the ground heavily. Immediately, the earth was violently churning like a pot of boiling water. "Be careful everyone!" Kaluni yelled, and everyone got on their Pokémon. "Take off quickly, avoiding the boiling earth." Several investigators who reacted slowly were quickly buried by the shaking ground. Kaluni, who was hiding in the sky while riding a flying Pokémon, turned pale instantly. Shrieked, in New Okiane's voice, "Mulin!" Zygarde shot suddenly, without giving everyone time to react. Hearing Kaluni scream, everyone remembered it. Mulin is sitting on the ground with her eyes closed. "Horducha, hurry up and save Mulin." Kaluni seemed to be crazy, thinking that Mulin would be buried by the shaking earth. Her heart felt like a corner was missing. Horducha, who urged her repeatedly, flew towards the position where Mulin was just now. Carlos San Elite, who received help, also sent his own Pokémon to the rescue again and again. But when they found Mulin, they were all stunned. 246 Zygarde, this Rayquaza, a little stronger. The ground trembled like boiling water. Mulin, from calm mind with his eyes closed, stood with his legs straight on top. A boulder nearly 2 meters in weight and estimated to weigh 500 catties came towards Mulin's face due to the tremor of the ground. Mulin didn't even open his eyes, and suddenly stretched out his fist from between his waist and abdomen, hitting the air. A tyrannical air wave was rolled up. There was a bang. The boulder was blasted to pieces. People in this world are much stronger physically than those on Blue Star. In the final analysis, it is still a human being. Able to smash boulders with one punch, many powerful fighters can do it. For example, Chuck, the fighting player of the Johto region. But Mulin's punch smashed the boulder just by the airwave it brought up. Exclamation mark. And, keep your eyes closed under the contest condition. How do you know the direction the boulder is coming from? Just when everyone was surprised, Mulin opened his eyes. The originally clear and bright eyes disappeared. Instead, there are blood-red violent eyes full of destructive desires. The originally modest and gentlemanly temperament, gentle as jade, changed 187 instantly with the opening of the eyes. The whole person became incomparably violent. Like a peerless sharp sword, if you dare to face it directly, you will be stabbed by its sharpness. Mulin, what's wrong with you? Kaluni looked at the rare Mulin, who showed a ferocious look. Her beautiful eyes were full of worry. It feels like Mulin at this time is like a raging beast. It's just that Mulin, whose brain has been occupied by the berserk factor, can't answer her at all. Transformed into a snake shape, Zygarde made the ground stop trembling, eyes shining with white light, staring at Mulin curiously. From Mulin's body, he felt that he was obviously stronger and more special than other humans. Zygarde's majestic and heavy voice came to mind. "You, for the strongest human being in this world, should be cleared first." Zygarde gathered the light and prepared to attack Mulin, who was standing still. The intensity of energy is several times stronger than that of Little, who fell to the ground and fell into the brink of death. No matter how strong humans are, they cannot compare with the legendary beasts. "Mulin, get out of the way," Kaluni said anxiously. "What about Mulin?" No response at all. "Be furious and calmly stand still." Seeing that Mulin didn't respond, Yafune didn't care about anything else. Horducha hurriedly urged her to save Mulin before Zygarde attacked smackdown. Facing Zygarde, who represents nature, Horducha plucked up his courage and stopped just a few meters away, as if being forcibly held down by a force. At this time, soaring in the sky, endless turbulent currents are surging. The dragon's majesty is mighty, full of infinite heavenly power. Zygarde, who was gathering energy, noticed something and raised his guard. Mulin, with blood-red eyes, stretched out his right hand to soaring in the sky. With a hoarse throat, he spit out word by word, "Rayquaza." In the turbulence of bursts of dragon power, there was a burst of high-pitched and majestic dragon chant. Rayquaza. In the endless turbulence, Rayquaza's divine body, which is as bright as a black gem, rushed out. It landed steadily in front of Mulin with blood-red eyes, and automatically bent down. Mulin jumped up and stepped on Rayquaza's back. When Mulin was riding on Rayquaza, Rayquaza's figure changed rapidly. Rayquaza Mega Evolution. Kaga, overwhelming the world, the tyrannical and unparalleled momentum, swept from all directions, gathered on the body of Mega Rayquaza. Because of being integrated with Mulin, Mega Rayquaza's sharp black dragon eyes also turned blood red. Rayquaza. The golden ribbons of Mega Rayquaza fluttered and let out an earth-shattering dragon chant. All creatures living under the soaring in the sky are oppressed by the mighty Rayquaza. Zygarde, the guardian of order, issued a savage roar in displeasure. Use this to counter the power of Mega Rayquaza. In fact, Zygarde knew Rayquaza as early as the birth of the world. However, it is because of the different authority in the region to which they belong. The two don't have much overlap. This is Rayquaza's first visit to the Kalos region. Zygarde, who turned into a snake body, said majestically, "Lord soaring in the sky, why did you invade my territory? Also, why do you submit to weak humans?" Zygarde, who is also the pinnacle of a first-level god, obviously does not want to have a dispute with Mega Rayquaza. A war between them will disrupt the natural order. Furthermore, the Mega Rayquaza, which was covered in black light, seemed to be different from what Zygarde had seen before. It seems that there is a little bit of strength. Mega Rayquaza, who has been integrated with Mulin and affected by the berserk factor, ignored Zygarde's inquiry. Instead, Mulin, who was riding on Rayquaza, stared at Zygarde with blood-red eyes, and said with 7 points of fury and 3 points of indifference, "Rayquaza, Dragon Ascent." Raw tilde, like a loyal guard, loyal to the Guardian King. For Mega Rayquaza, who received Mulin's order, the golden ribbon kept flying. The endless turbulence surges wildly. With a speed imperceptible to the naked eye, he rushed towards Zygarde in form without saying a word. Boom! Shake the mountain for a while. Even space is about to crumble. Normal. Zygarde in snake form was directly forced into the ground by Mega Flash Rayquaza. A deep pit of hundreds of meters was created. 247 Zygarde, as a beast, please have a green face. Raw tilde. Sinking Zygarde into the ground, Mega Rayquaza returns to the air with a frenzied dragon chant. Show off its tyrannical, violent and boundless might. Zygarde, who was in close contact with the earth and turned into a snake, jumped out of the deep pit. His white eyes fixed on the Mega Rayquaza held high above, soaring in the sky. Caught off guard, he resisted Mega Rayquaza's Dragon Ascent. Even for Zygarde, who has a strong endurance, it is not a small injury. Zygarde never expected Rayquaza, who is also the pinnacle of a first-level god and holds the authority of soaring in the sky, is so unspeakable about martial arts. It's okay to ignore his questioning, but he actually attacked directly. I have to admit that Zygarde was a little confused just now. After being stunned, Zygarde was furious. It's fine for the opponent to invade his own territory, but he also brazenly attacked his master's family. Is there any reason for this? Is there any other law? Absolutely unbearable. Raw tilde. Zygarde let out a roar. Although it felt that Rayquaza seemed to have changed color and became stronger, but as the patron saint of order in the Kalos region, his dignity did not allow him to retreat. Isn't it just a fight? Who is afraid of whom? When Zygarde gathered his fighting spirit and prepared to fight, a dazzling firework flashed in, soaring in the sky. The so-called fireworks are the dragons and stars made by Rayquaza. Boom, boom, boom. The meteorite composed of dragon energy smashed down towards Zygarde on the ground. Zygarde, who had just come out of the deep pit, was immediately hit by the dragon stars with a very wide attack range. The dragon stars created by the energy of the surging dragon system created a deeper pit than before. Zygarde, which combines the ground system and the dragon system, once again had an in-depth communication with the earth. Soul Light. I am really a bully. Zygarde, in snake form, prepares to escape from the pit under the meteorite bombardment of the dragon stars. Then summon your own green cell eggs and advance to become a complete body. But when he rushed halfway, he found Mega Rayquaza, who had just finished casting dragon stars. Once again, with boundless power, he rushed towards him in the deep pit. Boom. The connection between Zygarde and the earth was strengthened by Rayquaza's double attack. Knowing that Zygarde, who is in the form of a snake, can't exert 100% of his strength, he can't go on like this, will be branded a fool by Mega Rayquaza. While parrying Rayquaza's attack, he cast a powerful move called Thousand Waves against the deep pit. The hard earth immediately became as soft as sand. Taking advantage of this gap, Zygarde quickly escaped from Rayquaza's attack range. Lord soaring in the sky, since you are unreasonable, want to fight me? Then I will show you my true power. Roaring out of the attack range, Zygarde was afraid that Rayquaza would attack again, and immediately called his clone. Countless green light spots gathered from the distant sky. The shining green light almost turned soaring in the sky green. Zygarde in snake form, body changes rapidly. At the same time, an extremely tyrannical coercion kept gathering. When all the green light is absorbed, a tall Pokemon appears. Zygarde's 100% form, the full body comes. At this time, he seems to be the incarnation of the whole nature, the incarnation of the guardian of the order of the world, and the incarnation of mastering the laws of the world. The tyrannical Zygarde stopped Mulin riding Mega Rayquaza. At this moment, Mulin, whose mind was occupied by the berserk factor, turned his blood-red eyes to Zygarde. It has to be said that Zygarde gave him extremely strong pressure. It is precisely because of Zygarde's pressure that Mulin feels the pressure. Mulin, under the control of the berserk factor, took out a stone glowing with white light, and fling released a red and white ball. Task for flowers. Under change, the ice dragon Kyurem and the holy white dragon Reshiram appear on the battlefield. Raw tilde. Like Rayquaza, under the influence of Mulin's berserk factor, Kyurem, the rude ice dragon, and Kyurem, the holy and elegant white dragon, uttered hostile dragon cries at Zygarde in unison. Zygarde's white eyes flickered across Kyurem and Reshirem's body. Finally, his gaze rests on Kyurem. Compared with Kyurem and Reshirem, the stronger one is the brutal Ice Dragon Kyurem. On attribute, the Ice Dragon Kyurem restrains him. But now they cannot be compared with Mega Rayquaza. His battle with Mega Rayquaza was simply not something they could engage in. Zygarde couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. What are they sent out for? Soon, Mulin, who was in a frenzy, acted to overcome Zygarde's doubts. At this time, he held up the DNA splicers in his hand. With a hoarse voice, he shouted, "Blazing fire, immortal ice, follow my will." Fusion. After Mulin's voice fell, the wedge of sky emitted a soft white light. The figures of Kyurem and Reshirem quickly merged together. Soon, Yanbai Kyurem, who masters the two completely different energies of ice and fire, will descend. Flame white Kyurem stared at Zygarde with blood-red eyes, and let out a hostile dragon roar. Feeling the hostility towards him from Mega Rayquaza and Yanbai Kyurem, he obviously put on a 2-on-1 stance. Zygarde got a little angry. "Don't be too embarrassing if you're too good. The dignity of being a top-level god is gone." 248 Zygarde expresses extreme contempt for Mulin. A chaotic world was born, and a variety of mythical beasts with different powers were formed. All the powerful beasts, unless they have different ideas about their respective powers, just like Groudon and Kyogre, otherwise other beasts would not easily fight. Especially the more powerful the beasts, the less chances they will have to fight each other, because the battle between super divine beasts is too powerful. Just the spread of the battle is enough to destroy a city, and countless humans and Pokémon have died as a result. At the same time, the collision of huge power may even cause the fragmentation of the space. And once the gods and beasts have an irreconcilable conflict 670, if they must fight, they will only face rival by themselves. Noble and proud beasts, their dignity does not allow them to bully the few with more. But the problem is, the Mega Rayquaza and Yanbai Kyurem controlled by Mulin are all posing to Zygarde. This situation cannot be blamed on Kund. Originally, Mulin used the power of the three gods to eliminate the berserk factor. But Zygarde cut him off with a cold shout. It's okay to interrupt, as long as there is enough time. With Mulin's firm will, he can still overcome the impact of the berserk. But at this time, Zygarde became hostile to life. Also attack. In order to survive, Mulin had already resisted with difficulty. Had to be distracted and dodge Zygarde's beat-up attack. This time, Mulin's consciousness was completely lost, and he completely entered the berserk contest condition. The berserk Mulin naturally regards Zygarde, who is hostile to humans, as an enemy. Especially Zygarde after transform, gave Mega Rayquaza great pressure. Forced by this oppressive force, the berserk Mulin automatically summoned the flame white Kyurem to meet the enemy together. As for the dignity of the beast, after going berserk, Mulin will consider these things. Facing a Mega Rayquaza and Yanbai Kyurem, Zygarde expressed his extreme disdain for Mulin. However, Zygarde felt bitter in his heart. Originally, the strength that Mega Flash Rayquaza showed just now was extremely strong. Now with the addition of a flame white Kyurem, it is even more unbearable for him. However, as Zygarde who has the most exclusive skills and masters the order of the world, he has to face it. After all, this is his territory. Protect your own territory. The battle is imminent, and Zygarde wants to prevent the bombardment of the two top-level gods. Be the first to use one of the exclusive skills, Land's Wrath. Following Zygarde's guidance, the earth kept shining with khaki yellow energy. They all gathered on his body, covering his original black and green body with a thick khaki armor. Zygarde's action, in the view of Mulin under the berserk contest condition, is Taunt. The Taunt of Red Fruit. Mulin, master of the twin gods, gave the command hoarsely, "Rayquaza, Dragon Pulse." Flame white Kyurem, freeze-dried. High-pitched and savage dragon roars came together. Rayquaza, known as the supreme myth of Hoenn, immediately gathered the surging dragon energy. From the endless turbulence, a powerful dragon wave emerges. Yanbai Kyurem is not to be outdone. He has a bad personality, but under the influence of Mulin's berserk, he becomes more belligerent. The overclocking mode was automatically turned on, and a bone-piercing icy light was emitted. Two attribute energies that completely restrain Zygarde attacked Zygarde violently. Zygarde didn't dare to be careless about this at all. Four ribbons fluttering behind his back, slams into the ground, absorbing energy from it. A wall of thick, glistening earth rises from Lucas. Boom! The savage and elegant flame white Kyurem shot out the icy light first to hit the earth wall. In an instant, the indestructible earth wall was covered with a layer of ice, which changed the nature of the earth wall and turned it into frozen soil. Then, Mega Rayquaza's tyrannical dragon wave blasted on the frozen ground. Boom! Longbow immediately shattered the thick frozen soil, and blasted towards Zygarde unabated. Reluctantly, Zygarde, who had turned into a Gundam, could only raise his hands to block, gritting his teeth to defend Longbow. Huge impact, tough 2.4 pushing Zygarde back. In order to resist the impact, Zygarde plowed tens of meters on the ground with his right foot, and then resisted the joint bombardment of the two gods. Although the twin gods controlled by Mulin only use normal skills, it's not the kind of powerful exclusive skill. The damage caused is also terrifying enough. If rival is not Zygarde, who is extremely durable, but Groudon, who is rough and thick, he will also be injured. And this is just the beginning. 249 Arceus's hatred for human beings is intensely intense. Boom, boom. Three top beasts gathered in the suburbs of Lumiose City, colliding fiercely non-stop. From time to time, there was a loud noise that could tear people's eardrums. The airwaves formed by the collision are enough to roughly break the surrounding trees in half. The Carlos Alliance elite headed by Kaluni retreated crazily, withdrew a full 10 kilometers away, watching the thrilling battle situation from afar. Because it is too close, even an ordinary stone is like a bullet from a snipe shotgun. This is horrible. Wickstrom, who majored in steel, touched the armor on his body subconsciously. It seems that the heavy armor on his body is the only thing that can make him feel safe. Yeah, Zimmy, who majored in water and was a part-time chef, swallowed hard. This is not a battle that ordinary Pokémon can join in. The older Drasna didn't speak, but the look of surprise in her eyes was no less than that of the other two elites. 26. The three elites were all lamenting the terrifying fluctuations in the battle between the three top-level gods, while Kaluni watched the battlefield worriedly. Her beautiful eyes searched for the figure of Mulin on Rayquaza, who kept dancing wildly and moved extremely fast. Her focus is only on her body. Such a fierce battle. Mulin should be fine. Drasna patted Kaluni on the shoulder to reassure her. Kaluni Grand Duke, Mulin Professor should be fine. I remember the last time Ultra went berserk, Mulin Professor once said. He is the successor of Rayquaza. Rayquaza will not let the big professor get hurt. Okay. Kaluni nodded heavily and responded. Although she said so, she still couldn't help worrying about Mulin. But Mulin has absorbed so many Pokemon's berserk factor. Will something happen to him? At this time, Kaluni's eyes were dull, and she leaned on Drasna's body. When she thought of Mulin's blood-red eyes, her worries couldn't stop spreading, rushing to her heart. She's not afraid of Zygarde. After all, Mega Rayquaza and Blaze Kyurem, they worked together to completely fight Zygarde. The battle can be said to be one-sided. She was only worried about Mulin's situation. The thought of the berserk factor might damage him. Kani couldn't help but panic. Drasna, who was a little older, could only put his arms around Kaluni's shoulders, and she couldn't answer her questions. At this time, a determined female voice came from beside him. Professor Mulin, nothing will happen. The speaker is Chegrove, who came to support from Anastar City. Olympia's firm words immediately attracted the attention of Caluni and everyone else. Facing everyone's eyes, Olympia gently waved the cloak inlaid with stars, and Solaceon said, Mulin is the most unique person blessed by fate. Caluni suddenly remembered that when Mulin first came to the Carlos region, she disappeared for a while. She also went to Anastar Gym with Cynthia and met Olympia once. At that time, Olympia mentioned that Mulin is the child of destiny and will deal with a real crisis of extinction. Director Olympia, that means Mulin will be fine now. Caluni trusts the power of the Olympia family with a deep foundation and their ability to calculate fate. That's right. Olympia put away the Solaceon expression on her face, and said solemnly, Mulin is the child of destiny. He undertakes a more difficult task, and he will never fall down here! Exclamation mark. Although Caluni didn't know what the more difficult task was in Olympia's mouth, at least now that she has Olympia's guarantee, she feels better. The full-body Zygarde, Mega Flash Rayquaza, and Yanbai Kyurem are fighting against the three top-level 1 gods. The resulting spatial fluctuations spread soundlessly to the surroundings. Sinnoh region. The summit of Mount Coronet. The surrounding space was distorted, and a temple suddenly appeared in the air. This temple is exactly the temple of creation. The unknown in the entire temple kept trembling. 340 The sleeping Arceus felt the violent battle fluctuation, and opened his eyes suddenly. Carrying the incomplete stone slab on his back, he looked at the Carlos region with a gloomy gaze. A majestic voice sounded, humans can actually control them. With the bad nature of despicable human beings, this world will be destroyed sooner or later. Humans don't stay. When I wake up again, all humans will be wiped out. With the disappearance of Arceus' words, the creation temple of Mount Coronet, which contains the supreme law, disappears as if it never appeared. The seeds of Arceus' hatred for humans were planted thousands of years ago. As time went by, the seed of hatred had grown into a towering tree in Arceus' heart. Arceus' hatred for human beings was so intense that it couldn't be resolved. 250 Zygarde, I was protected by my little sister! Exclamation mark. Zygarde, the guardian of order. In his full form, his species strength is as high as 708. Especially in terms of physical strength, species strength is as high as an astonishing 216 points. Cooperate with 121 physical defense and 95 special defense. Combined with these data, Zygarde has a strong defensive ability. Although it is not as good as the Promised Tainer with species strength of 255 and defense and special defense of 250 after Promise. But Zygarde doesn't have the bloated body of Promised Tai in terms of body shape. It can be flexibly blocked or defended. If you compare it from this aspect, Zygarde's defensive ability seems to be stronger. In addition, the full-body Zygarde also has the largest number of exclusive skills. They are Thousand Arrows, Thousand Wave Surging, Land's Wrath, and Core Enforcer. It also allows Zygarde to have a relatively complete attack surface in the battle. Of course, 3 of the 4 exclusive skills are ground-based skills. Even Groudon, the god of the earth, has at most 1 ground-type exclusive skill, Precipice Blades. Perhaps, Zygarde, who has 3 ground-specific skills, is more suitable to be the god of the earth than Groudon. Or maybe Zygarde can fly and doesn't have the habit of measuring the ground with his feet as much as Groudon. So Zygarde lost the title of god of the earth. Looking back at the battle, the 3 gods are still fighting fiercely at this time. Rotilda. Zygarde Pedal Ground, Transfer Zone from ground. The khaki thick earth breath gathered on his body, strengthening his defense. Both hands are completely blocking the contest condition, because Rayquaza, carrying the might of 9 heavens, powerfully bombards him. Boom. The powerful collision is like shaking the earth. Zygarde planted his feet on the ground and plowed tens of meters on the ground before barely stopping. After the impact, Zygarde couldn't care less about pulling out his plowing legs, because Yanbai Kyurem's attack came in an instant. Flame White Kyurem's ice-like energy beam, although not as overbearing as Rayquaza. However, once the ice and fire dual-type attack hits, it will cause outstanding damage. Zygarde can only mobilize the energy of the earth and build a thick earth wall to resist for himself. The fight lasted for several minutes, and at first Zygarde took advantage of his strength and energy to fight back a little. Only slowly, the battle situation began to tilt to the side led by Mulin. Under his command, Mega Rayquaza and Flame White Kyurem frequently killed Zygarde. After all, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. At this time, Zygarde is extremely boring. The source of depression is Mulin, who controls the 2 super beasts. Damn a chicken tilde. I thought it was just a special human being. I didn't expect this human being to be the inheritor of the Lord of Soaring in the Sky. There are also ice dragons and white dragons who surrender to him. If I had known, I wouldn't have messed with him. If this continues, it will be over. But in the battle, Zygarde didn't have extra time to sigh, because the offensive just stopped. Under the command of Mulin, Mega Rayquaza caused the endless turbulence in the air to surge again, and Yanbai Kyurem was accumulating energy like the tail of an airplane engine. This indicates that a round of offense is about to be launched. Boom, boom. The sound of battle explosions can be heard endlessly. The powerful 3 gods are fighting, and the Pokémon within a radius of 10 kilometers have already fled because of their nature of seeking good luck and avoiding evil. Even the edge of the battlefield is a restricted area of life. Only, there is a deer-shaped Pokémon, but dare to walk into the scope of this battle. This Pokémon is none other than Xerneas, the merciful of life. Xerneas, with colorful Lucas on his head, quickly ran towards the center of the battlefield. Da, who was fighting fiercely, soon noticed Xerneas belonging to the same region. In a way, both Xerneas and Ultraman are ruled by Zygarde. The relationship between these 3 mythical beasts in the Kalos region is a bit like the relationship between Rayquaza and Primal. Facing Ultraman's approach, Zygarde didn't hold out much hope. Mega Rayquaza, who is a super beast, and Flaming White Kyurem, any one of them can hang him up and hammer him. But what Zygarde never expected was that Ultraman, who went deep into the battlefield, stood in front of him. Seeing the little girl standing in front of him, Zygarde was a little dumbfounded, but more moved. At the critical moment, Ultraman actually stepped forward. Even if the strength is weak, dare to face Mega Rayquaza and Yanbai Kyurem. As the big brother, Zygarde was moved and immediately asked Ultraman to get out of the way. After all, the mighty rival, even he can barely block the defense. Little sister goes up. Isn't it a gift? Ultraman ignored Zygarde's instructions, and the antlers on his head, Wang Nuo's, were shining with dazzling colorful light. FK a chicken. Do not care. Zygarde said anything to protect this Ultraman who stood up for himself. When he was about to rush to the front and help Ultraman take the move, but he suddenly discovered that Yanbai Kyurem had stopped accumulating energy. Rayquaza, carrying the power of the 9 days, no longer makes the turbulence or soaring in the sky surge. Okay? Zygarde's eyes sparkled with white light, filled with great doubts. The one who stopped the 2 super divine beasts was actually his little sister Mad? This gave Zygarde a feeling of astonishment that the elder brother was protected by the younger sister. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, link in the description. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.